Chapter 180. When the red flag appeared in front of Ren Wei, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Ren Wei touched the thick mud that covered his face, and his heart suddenly trembled. "Chu Hen, you little thief, you can't escape." A thunderous voice reverberated in the forest. It was like a huge stone was thrown into a calm lake, and it stirred up thousands of waves. In the next instant, an endless aura of danger rushed toward Ren Wei from all directions like a tide. More than 10 murderous black figures held sharp weapons in their hands. They were like a pack of hungry wolves. Each of them had a ferocious and ruthless expression on their faces as they pounced toward Ren Wei, who was in the middle. Chu Hen's life is mine. A man holding a saber flashed and slashed at Ren Wei. "Scram! Don't even think about fighting with me. Get out of my way. His life is mine." A thick aura of death shrouded Ren Wei's entire body. His eyes narrowed to the size of a needle tip, and they were filled with endless fear. "No, I'm not Chu." Hiss. Before Ren Wei could finish his words, a sharp saber directly fell on his chest. Warm blood splattered in the air. The saber's blade went straight into his sternum. Fresh blood flowed out, and his skin and flesh were torn open. Rip! Then, a cold, sharp sword pierced through the man's back and chest. Then a long spear stabbed into his heart. In just a few blinks of an eye, nearly 10 weapons had pierced through Ren Wei's body. Fresh blood splattered in the air. The people charged forward and started a frenzied attack. Numerous fatal wounds covered Ren Wei's body. Bang! He fell powerlessly in a pool of blood. His eyes were wide open, and his pupils were about to burst. His eyes were filled with hatred and unwillingness as he stared at the depths of the forest. In the depths of the forest, there was a blurry young figure that looked like a devil from hell. It was only at this moment that Ren Wei finally understood. This was all part of Chu Hen's plan of substituting one for the other. First, Chu Hen intentionally kicked Ren Wei into the mud to hide his appearance. Then, he purposely didn't kill him. Chu Hen caught up to Ren Wei 5 times in total, but he let him go each time. It seemed like he was playing with Haozi like a cat, waiting to kill him when he was tired of playing with him. In truth, he was trying to chase Ren Wei to the center of the competition zone. However, how could Ren Wei, whose mind was in a mess, think so much? Step by step, he was led by the nose by Chu Hen and brought here. This was because Chu Hen had already guessed that the remaining people would set up an ambush here. If he wanted to obtain a spot in the first elimination round, he had to obtain the banner. Therefore, everyone was waiting for Chu Hen to arrive. When Ren Wei sensed that something was wrong, the real Chu Hen shouted that sentence from behind. The people lying in ambush naturally thought that the person covered in mud was Chu Hen. This was because everyone knew that they would be able to exchange a spirit weapon from Wei Qingfan if they killed Chu Hen. Since everyone in the 224th Division was chasing after Chu Hen, then he would definitely be chased until he was in a sorry state, fleeing in panic. Then, without saying a word, everyone charged at Ren Wei and started to kill him. Poor Ren Wei. He was so wrong that it could even snow in June. In the face of death, Ren Wei actually smiled. The smile on his face was very strange. "Ha! Hee! All of you are going to die, thud." Ren Wei's head tilted to the side. His eyes that were wide open quickly became slack. The vitality in his body disappeared in just a blink of an eye. The people around him also stopped killing. When they looked at the person lying on the ground again, they simply could not bear to look at him. Almost all of his body was slashed to pieces. Even one of his arms had been chopped off. A spirit weapon could actually make a group of academy students go crazy. "I killed him," a man holding a saber said fiercely. "Ah, just because you said you killed him, it's yours?" Another man who was as skinny as a monkey sneered. "Umph, I was the first one to injure him." "That's right. You said you injured him. The real thing that took his life was the long sword in my hand. Get lost. It was obviously my long spear that pierced his heart." What do all of you want?" The crowd began to quarrel endlessly. The atmosphere became unusually restless, as though a chaotic battle could break out at any time. "Wait." A young man with a sharp gaze seemed to have noticed something. He walked to the side of the corpse on the ground and rudely wiped the mud off the corpse's face. Subsequently, under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, a familiar face began to appear in front of everyone. This is Renwei. Why is it him? When everyone saw Renwei's face, they were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Oh no, we've been tricked. The man holding the long spear shouted loudly. Buzz. Before he could finish his sentence, a raging, piercingly cold gust of wind suddenly swept towards them. The dead branches and leaves on the ground seemed to have been swept away by the autumn wind. In the next moment, accompanied by the sharp sound of the air being torn apart, a sharp black patterned long spear traversed the air and attacked like a shooting star. What? The man holding the long spear had a drastic change in expression. Hiss! A series of blood splattered in the air. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the long spear pierced through the throat of the man holding the long spear and the man behind him. Zung! The demon slayer spear drank the blood of two people consecutively. Then it was stabbed into the ground diagonally. Bright colored liquid flowed down the spear's body. The cold aura made people not dare to approach it. Subsequently, the two men fell to the ground one after another. Blood gushed out from the bloody hole in their throats like a fountain. Soon, the ground was dyed red. Sha-sha. The sound of footsteps on the grass could be heard from afar. The expressions of the remaining people all became especially solemn. Every one of them tightly gripped the sharp weapons in their hands. Soon after, a young, slender figure slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight from the deep and dark forest. That pair of pitch-black eyes contained a playful expression, a hint of mockery, as well as a chill that caused one's heart to palpitate. Chu-Hen, the man holding the blade, shouted in a deep voice. Hee, how much hatred do I have for you? To be able to kill people like this? Chu-Hen smiled indifferently. He glanced at Renwei, who was a bloody mess on the ground and could not be more dead. Humph, you despicable thing. You actually used such a lowly method. The skinny monkey spirit holding the sword scolded fiercely. No matter how lowly the method is, it can still fool idiots like you, right? Chu-Hen's tone became deeper and deeper, and the coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. I'm very sorry to tell you all that your rabid dog-like actions just now made me very unhappy. All of you here must die. All must die. These three resolute words announced that the anger in Chu-Hen's heart had already risen. To be honest, previously, Chu-Hen did not really believe that everyone would harm him in order to curry favor with Wei Qingfan. There would always be one or two kind-hearted people. However, when he saw his substitute, Renwei, die under their blades, Chu-Hen changed his previous thoughts. At least in this competition zone, everyone wanted his own life. At least in this competition zone, everyone was considered an enemy. Feeling the coldness released from Chu-Hen's body, the expressions of the crowd changed again. Then, a man at the 9th level of the element opening stage sneered and directly charged forward with his sword in hand. Humph, stinking brat, don't talk nonsense in front of me. You don't deserve to say such shameless words. A powerful sword aura circled around his body, forming a circle of extremely lethal air blades. At the same time, seeing that someone had made a move, the others did not want to be left behind. One after another, they aggressively charged toward Chu-Hen. Before the start of the competition, the crowd had a rough understanding of Chu-Hen's situation. Previously in St. Bell City, Chu-Hen's cultivation was only at the 6th level of the element opening stage. With this kind of strength, any random person could defeat him. Since that was the case, what was there to be afraid of? Die for me. The man at the 9th level of the element opening stage hurriedly aimed his sword at Chu-Hen's throat like a storm. A hint of disdain appeared at the corner of Chu-Hen's mouth. He used the Big Dipper roaming dragon steps and dodged his opponent's sword aura. At the same time, a rapid wave of energy immediately erupted from his body. Strands of red light rapidly spread to Chu-Hen's right arm like a tide. He clenched his palm into a fist and directly punched toward his opponent's chest. This punch's aura was restrained. One could not feel the strength of the punch at all. The man at the 9th level of the element opening stage laughed disdainfully. He immediately summoned an incomparably vigorous True Yuan and used a powerful palm force to meet Chu Hen's seemingly simple punch. Bang! A heavy shock wave instantly exploded in midair, accompanied by a rain of blood. That man's eyes were about to split open, while his face was deathly pale. One could see that his entire arm had been forcefully smashed into scraps by Chu Hen's fist. His flesh, tendons, and bones were directly smashed into smithereens. Fear and panic instantly covered his entire face. In the next instant, Chu Hen's devilishly handsome face was reflected in the man's extremely panic-stricken eyes. Have a safe trip. Bang! The second thunderous punch landed solidly on his opponent's chest. The power transmitted from inside of the fist was like a volcano erupting in an instant. It was extremely furious. All the bones in his body were directly smashed into pieces, and all his internal organs ruptured. The man did not even have the time to let out a scream before he was flung dozens of meters away. He was beyond dead. The 9th level of the element opening stage, Wu Xiao, was killed by Chu Hen with a single blow. This scene sincerely caused everyone's heart to tremble. However, at the same time as fear struck, a sharp black saber had already appeared in Chu Hen's palm. As soon as the saber was raised, boundless killing intent was released like a tide. Hiss! The saber flashed, and a silver light streaked across the air. The skinny man who had rushed to the front was directly split into two by Chu Hen's saber. Warm blood and broken internal organs splattered on the ground. Chapter 181. In the center of the 224th Division, a bloody and cruel massacre was quietly taking place. This was a completely one-sided massacre. Chu Hen held the black saber and fought everyone by himself. The limitless Fong was so powerful that it drank everyone's blood. All sorts of shrill screams reverberated in the forest. Blood rained down, broken limbs flew everywhere, and shattered internal organs splattered everywhere. His opponents died under Chu Hen's saber one after another, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. Chu Hen thief, you bastard! I'll fight you to the death. The man who held the long saber and slashed at Ren Wei had a ferocious look on his face, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He watched the people around him die, tragically under Chu Hen's hands. He was shocked and angry, and his emotions were abnormally crazy. Whoosh! He held the long saber tightly, and a vigorous true origin power quickly gathered on the blade. A series of rolling thunder appeared in the air, and dense electric arcs covered the long saber's blade. Die! Hey! A cold light flashed in the corner of Chu Hen's eyes. He condensed his palm, and the limitless Fong bloomed with a strange cold black light. You brought this upon yourselves. Ding! Chu Hen's saber collided with the opponent's, and the weapon in the latter's hand broke into two. While his aura was being suppressed, Chu Hen turned his wrist, and the limitless Fong dragged a series of shadows in the air like a flickering light. The opponent's eyes widened, and his heart trembled. Hiss! The saber flashed like an aurora, and a round head flew out. Endless fear was still frozen on the face, and a dazzling arrow of blood spurted out from the flat neck. When the round head fell to the ground, the headless body also fell to the ground. In an instant, there was no one left alive around Chu Hen. More than 10 people were completely slaughtered here, and not many of their bodies were intact. Scarlet-red blood flowed happily on the ground, forming a small stream. This scene was truly a ghastly sight. Wei Qing fan, this is a great gift for you. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a cold arc. He held the limitless Fong diagonally and retrieved the Demon Punisher spear, which was not far away. Then, he unceremoniously collected everyone's storage treasures. More than 600 high-grade crystals. This was a pretty good loot. After doing all this, Chu Hen slowly walked toward the flag in front of him. The red flag was more than 2 meters tall, and there was a word Earth written on it. All the other competition zones were fighting for this banner, but the 224 zone did not. However, when Chu Hen walked in front of the banner, he was still holding the limitless Fong saber in his hand. If you don't get lost, don't blame me for being impolite. Number 32. Chu Hen stopped in his tracks and turned to look at the dark forest on his left. A cold glint flashed in his deep eyes. Number 32. There were a total of 33 people in this competition zone. Excluding Chu Hen, there were 32 opponents. Before he chased Renwei here, Chu Hen had already gotten rid of 20 people. Now, there were 11 people lying here. This meant that there was still an Oriole hidden here. Rustle. Faint footsteps slowly rang out. In the dusky environment, a black-clothed, ordinary-looking man with a pair of wolf-like eyes appeared in front of Chu Hen. Clap, clap, clap. The other party lightly clapped his hands and looked at Chu Hen with a playful smile. His tone was indifferent as he said, "Amazing, truly amazing. What a good plan of substituting one for the other. It's really too brilliant. Now, I finally understand why Wei Qing Fan would use a spiritual weapon to exchange for your life. Your life is indeed worth this price." Chu Hen's plan just now could indeed be called brilliant. However, there were also smart people who would not be easily fooled. The 32nd person had been enduring until now. Buzz. As the other party approached Chu Hen, he released a powerful aura towards Chu Hen. Chu Hen raised his handsome eyebrows and smiled coldly. "I was wondering why you looked so confident. So it turns out that your cultivation base is at the core transformation stage. I'm sorry for being disrespectful. Hee. I have to say that I admire you a little. However, it's a pity that you met me, Zhang Fu." The man stopped about 10 meters away from Chu Hen and looked at him playfully. "Out of gratitude for helping me get rid of so many competitors, I'll leave your corpse intact." Zhang Fu's tone was full of confidence and contentment. It was as if in his eyes, Chu Hen's life and advancing to the next round of the elimination round were already in his bag. "You're very confident. Do you think a mere first stage core, transformation stage cultivator can cover the sky with one hand?" Chu Hen did not think much of it. "Ha ha." Zhang Fu could not stop laughing. His laughter was full of mockery. "Interesting. I think I've only heard of the pot calling the kettle black, but I've never seen the pot calling the kettle black. I admit that your combat strength is indeed strong, but you're only at the 9th stage of the element opening stage after all." Zhang Fu's voice paused. He slowly raised his right hand, and a silver claw glove appeared on his palm. The claw glove was like the claws of a lion or tiger, and the sharp claws were like daggers, flickering with a dangerous luster. "Moreover, you're already at the end of your rope. It's easy for me to take your life." Looking at the other party's confident expression, the aura exuding from Chu Hen's body gradually turned cold. The corner of his mouth curled up, and he smiled faintly. "I forgot to tell you something." "Oh." Zhang Fu pretended to be surprised. "Hee. You can start saying your last words. My eyes tell me that with your low level, you can't even take one move from me. What?" Boom. Before he finished speaking, an extremely strong wave of energy was suddenly released from Chu Hen's body. A demonic purple light quickly surged out of his body. A strong gust of wind blew and the leaves rustled and fell. Zhang Fu's expression suddenly changed and his heart trembled. This feeling was like the attack of the god of death. Chu Hen's pupils suddenly turned from black to a demonic purple. In the depths of his pupils, 2 black dots faintly trembled and emitted a vague and restless aura. Swoosh. In the next moment, Chu Hen flashed away like an arrow leaving a bow. The leaves on the ground flew into the air. Zhang Fu was caught off guard. He didn't think that Chu Hen would attack as soon as he said he would. However, just as he mobilized the boundless true yuan in his body to meet the attack, a strong gust of wind formed an invisible encirclement that instantly enveloped him. Hiss, accompanied by the sharp sound of the air being torn apart, a 7 to 8 meter long crescent light fell from the sky and swept past Zhang Fu with a shocking momentum. The silver crescent light was like a meteor in the dark night. Following that, Chu Hen's figure dragged a series of afterimages in the air and passed by Zhang Fu, flashing to the area behind him. In an instant, the two of them faced each other with their backs facing each other. Chu Hen held his saber diagonally. A scarlet drop of blood flowed down the tip of the saber and fell to the ground. Zhang Fu stood on the spot like a puppet. His face was pale, and his eyes were dull as he looked down at his chest. A wound that went deep into his sternum and went straight to his internal organs appeared on his chest. Bright red blood gushed out, and in the blink of an eye, a large part of his clothes was dyed red. Zhang Fu's heart trembled. His face was filled with fear and disbelief. He could not even take one strike. Indeed, a first-stage core transformation stage was killed by a ninth-stage element opening stage cultivator with one strike. What kind of concept was this? Zhang Fu was extremely regretful. Chu Hen had clearly given him a chance to live just now. Bang! Zhang Fu powerlessly fell to the ground. That strike was enough to kill him. His lips moved weakly like a fish without oxygen. His blood and vitality quickly disappeared. The moment his opponent stopped moving, Chu Hen's eyes returned to their normal pitch-black color. "You've brought this upon yourself." Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief. At this point, all 32 opponents had been dealt with. There were no more hidden troubles. He glanced at Zhang Fu's corpse indifferently and muttered to himself, "The demonized detection and the Shadow Moon Dance's lethality is really shocking." Under normal circumstances, Chu Hen would not be able to kill a core transformation stage expert with one strike. However, Chu Hen had used his demon eye to see through the direction of Zhang Fu's true origin energy and predicted his opponent's attack point and weak point. Then, with the help of the demon eye's bloodline limit, he was able to kill Zhang Fu with one strike. No matter what, this was Chu Hen's own strength. As long as he was able to solve the crisis at the critical moment and form a trump card to kill his opponent, it was enough. "It's over." Chu Hen put away the limitless Fong and casually took his opponent's storage ring. He then put away the flag and left the arena without looking back. Half an hour later, at the entrance area of arena number 224. The middle-aged man in charge of this division looked at Chu Hen, who was holding a red flag in front of him, in astonishment. "What's wrong?" Chu Hen asked casually. "No, nothing." The middle-aged man suppressed the shock in his heart. He really did not expect Chu Hen to advance to the next round. After all, there were many outstanding geniuses in this arena whose strength had reached the half-step core transformation stage. Although the name Chu Hen had caused a commotion in the Imperial City some time ago, he was still a newcomer after all. So this result was quite unexpected. "Give me the flag." After the middle-aged man put away the flag, he gave Chu Hen a small red card with the words 224 engraved on it. Chapter 182. Congratulations on obtaining a place in the first elimination round. After the middle-aged man in charge of this division accepted the banner, he handed a small red card with the number 224 inlaid on it to Chu Hen. "Also, the second elimination round will be held in 2 days. Go back and wait for the notice from the Academy." "Thank you." Chu Hen nodded, and after a simple word of thanks, he turned around and left. The middle-aged man looked at Chu Hen's receding figure, his heart filled with all kinds of doubts. Why is he the only one who has come out? Logically speaking, after Chu Hen obtained the banner, the other contestants should have come out one after another. It had been a while, but there seemed to be no movement. Strange. The middle-aged man looked at the deep forest behind him and shook his head helplessly. After leaving the division, Chu Hen's mood was not as relaxed as he imagined it to be. In addition to the joy of obtaining the only place to advance, there was also a kind of indescribable gloom. Because of his hatred for Wei Qingfan, he had killed so many people in a row. It was impossible to say that there was no grudge in his heart. Of course, Chu Hen did not feel guilty at all. When to be ruthless, when to be forgiving, Chu Hen knew very well in his own heart. Suddenly, Chu Hen's shoulder was gently patted from behind. He subconsciously turned his head, and Luo Mengshang's elegant and refined face came into view. "It's you?" Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on his face. "Don't tell me that you've been eliminated?" Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes were filled with a faint, gentle light. "No, I've advanced." Look. Chu Hen opened up his palm and took out the small red card that he had yet to put into his storage ring and placed it in front of the other party. "Then why do you look so listless? I thought you were eliminated." Chu Hen smiled and shook his head. No, what about you? Guess. Luo Mengshang's eyebrows flashed with a playful smile. Look at you, of course you've advanced. All right, you're smart. Huh? Chu Hen was startled. How could this be called smart? The two of them chatted casually as they walked out of the arena. Luo Mengchang's lively smile made Chu Hen's mood gradually relax. The gloom that had accumulated in his heart was quietly released. Although the two of them had only met a few times, there was an indescribable sense of familiarity between them. More and more competition zones had ended the first round of elimination matches. Most of the people who came and went were crestfallen and listless. There were more than 15,000 participants in the Southern Region competition zone, but only 500 of them had passed the first round. This ratio was not small. As for the other three regions, the situation was probably the same. Not long after, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang arrived at the front area of the competition venue. Chu Hen immediately saw mentor Xilan waiting outside. She had long purple hair and a beautiful face. No matter when, she would always attract people's attention. My mentor is over there, Chu Hen said. Oh, Luo Mengchang nodded lightly. Then you can go over. I won't be going over to your side. It seems that my direct mentor and your mentor have some conflict. Conflict? Chu Hen was slightly startled. He then asked, Your mentor is? Hong Lian. Luo Mengchang's red lips parted slightly as she answered softly. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed. He had already been in the Imperial City for almost a year. He had occasionally heard Li Huiyi, Zhou Lu, and the others talk about the core instructors and famous monstrous geniuses of the various martial houses. As for Imperial Martial Academy's core mentor, Hong Lian, Chu Hen had also heard a little about her. It was said that she was also an advanced tattoo master. Advanced tattoo master? Chu Hen was startled. He suddenly remembered that when he was in St. Bell City, he and Xilan were trapped by a mysterious advanced tattoo master's no-hatred illusion array. They almost lost their lives. Now that he thought about it, wasn't Hong Lian the mentor who led the team from Imperial Martial Academy? What's wrong? Luo Mengchang asked puzzledly when she saw Chu Hen's stunned expression. Chu Hen shook his head. At the same time, he looked at her with a complicated gaze. Nothing. Oh, then I'll leave first. Okay. Luo Mengchang did not think much of it and left first. Chu Hen looked at her elegant and refined back and deeply breathed out a breath of relief. A few profound meanings surged within his eyes. Then, Chu Hen left the area and came to Xilan's side. Mentor, you've advanced, haven't you? Although Xilan was asking, her eyes were filled with determination. Chu Hen nodded with a smile. And my luck is not bad. I didn't encounter a strong opponent. Xilan also smiled. There was a slight ripple in her beautiful eyes. Woo! After a while, a loud and clear bugle sound reverberated in every corner of the competition venue. This also meant that the first round of the promotion competition had ended. The top 500 of the Southern Region's competition venue had advanced. Densely packed people came out of the competition venue one after another. The ratio was 30-1. Among the more than 30 people, there was one person with a smile on his face. The rest were all dejected, of course, except for those who walked out on their own. There were also many people who were helped out. These were the people who were injured in the competition. Some of the more tragic ones lost their lives and were carried out on stretchers. Soon, the students of Tensei Prefecture gathered around Xilan. Senior brother Qingyuan, what happened to you? Sai, don't mention it. I met a guy at the second stage of the core transformation realm, and he took away my flag. Sai, I was also eliminated. The students of Tensei Prefecture were not in a good mood. Most of them were eliminated. Of course, in recent years, Tensei Prefecture was the weakest college in the Imperial City for a reason. Due to the lack of outstanding students, the overall strength of the students was relatively weak. It was not surprising that most of the students were eliminated. However, what surprised everyone was that Lei Jun actually advanced to the next round. When Lei Jun was in St. Bell City, his cultivation base was almost at the 9th stage of the element opening realm. After 5 months of hard work in Tensei Prefecture, he had recently broken through to the first stage of the core transformation realm. When he was in St. Bell City, Lei Zhan fought with demonic beasts all year round. Therefore, he was very experienced and had strong combat skills. Although the crowd was surprised, they felt that it was reasonable for Lei Zhan to advance to the next round. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the area in front of the competition venue. TSK, TSK, it's miserable. It's really miserable. What's going on? You still don't know? 10 people are seriously injured and 22 people are dead in the 224 competition venue. Oh my God, 22 contestants died? The entire place was in an uproar. Everyone who heard the news turned pale with fright. You didn't see the way those people were carried out. It's really tragic. Some of them didn't even have a full body. Who did they offend? It's a massacre. The speaker did not mean anything, but the listener did. Lei Zhan blurted out subconsciously, "Isn't Chu Hen from the 224 competition venue?" It was fine if he did not say it, but the moment he said it, it caused a huge uproar. The gazes of the surrounding people uniformly looked towards Chu Hen's direction. However, at this moment, Chu Hen had already left by himself, leaving behind a lonely and arrogant silhouette for the crowd. Looking at this scene, the people in Tensei Prefecture looked at each other. It's really Chu Hen's doing. Isn't this guy too ruthless? He killed 22 people. Even though they were from the same academy, they could not help but look at Chu Hen with caution. Shilan also frowned slightly. From what she knew, Chu Hen was not a bloodthirsty person. He did not have the so-called bloody aura. There was only one reason why such a situation would occur. That was because Chu Hen was forced into a situation where he had no other choice. Only then would he use such a killing move. "Teacher?" He Ching Yuan called out softly. Shilan shook her head and sighed softly. "Let's go back." In the evening, the imperial city welcomed the hubbub and jubilation of the entire city. The 4 major competition zones and 2,000 competition zones had decided on 2,000 genius students who would advance to the next round. The whole city was discussing who would be able to enter the top 36 of the Earth Roll, who would be able to become the champion of the Earth Roll. I bet that Wei Qing Fan of Tifeng Province has an 80% chance of becoming the champion of the Earth Roll. I bet that Shun Yunxi of Spirit Rhino Martial House will be the champion. Yao Zhan of Imperial Martial School. I think highly of him. Following the intense battle of the terrestrial list, the capital, and even the entire Sacred Star dynasty became lively. Of course, this was just the beginning. After the Earth Roll tournament, there was still the Heaven Roll tournament. In the following period of time, the atmosphere in the capital would continue to be high. In a splendid and magnificent mansion, lanterns were hung in the courtyard, and it was as bright as day. On the water pavilion, a few graceful young dancers were dancing. Inside the pavilion, Wei Qing Fan hugged a young girl with heavy makeup and constantly accepted the wine that the other party handed to him. This mansion was Wei Qing Fan's private residence, and it was also the place where he indulged in luxury every night. "Young Master Wei, recently you have that Miss EU, so you don't have time to accompany me," the beautiful girl in his arms said coquettishly. Wei Qing Fan smiled as he held the other party's chin and said with great interest, "Tonight, I will accompany you to your heart's content." The girl giggled. "Speaking of which, young Master Wei, how much money and resources have you invested on that woman? But she still hasn't submitted to you. I think she doesn't know what's good for her. Young Master Wei, you should not waste your time on her." "Heh, the more arrogant a woman is, the more I like her. I like to slowly tame her," Wei Qing Fan said as he poured a cup of wine into his mouth. As long as he became the champion of the Earth Roll tournament, he did not believe that Yi would not be dead set on him. "Young Master." At this moment, a middle-aged man hurriedly walked in from the door. It was Wei Qing Fan's personal attendant, Wei Han. Wei Qing Fan's eyelids twitched, and his eyes lit up. "Ah, good news." Chapter 183. Hee, there's good news. Wei Qing Fan couldn't help but reveal a complacent and playful smile when he saw Wei Han walking in from outside the door. He hugged the flirtatious woman in his arms even tighter, and the latter giggled as she tightly pressed herself against him. "Young Master." Wei Han walked in front of Wei Han with an ugly expression on his face. "Who's so lucky to be able to obtain a spirit weapon from this young master?" Wei Qingfan said indifferently with a faint smile. Wei Han shook his head. Young master, something went wrong. Oh, failed. Not only did he fail, there were 10 people seriously injured in the 224th competition area, and 22 people died. What? Hearing this, Wei Qingfan flew into a rage. He stood up and slammed his palm on the table. The seductive woman next to him jumped in fright and was thrown to the ground. The dancing women on the stage were also startled and gathered together in fear. What about that little animal? Wei Qingfan asked in a stern voice. He's safe and sound. Wei Han lowered his head and said. Wei Qingfan's expression became gloomier and gloomier, and the space between his brows was filled with dense coldness. Even Zhang Fu failed? Zhang Fu, I checked his wound. He was killed with a single slash. Boom. Wei Qingfan clenched his fists, and endless cold, killing intent surged in his eyes. Killed with a single slash? Zhang Fu was a genuine core transformation stage expert. So how could he be killed with a single slash from Chu Hen? If these words came from someone else's mouth, Wei Qingfan absolutely wouldn't dare to believe it. But Wei Han was his confidant, so there was no reason for him to doubt it. Isn't that little animal's weapon a spear? How come he was killed with a single slash? Wei Qingfan forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart, and his tone was as cold as a sharp awl. The flirtatious woman beside him was so frightened that she didn't even dare to say a word, and she sat on the ground in a daze. Wei Han's face also revealed a confused expression. This subordinate hasn't investigated clearly, but in the 224th competition area, it was indeed Chu Hen, that little animal, who obtained the only advancement spot. In addition, there's also... Speak! Also, all the storage tools on those 32 people were taken by that little bastard. Buzz! Just as he finished speaking, endless rage and a furious aura suddenly gushed out from Wei Qingfan's body. With a loud bang, the flirtatious lady beside him was sent flying. She heavily smashed into a stone pillar in the pavilion and fell to the ground. Blood continued to flow out of her mouth, and then her head tilted to the side. She didn't even have the chance to scream before she died on the spot. All the dancers on the stage were frightened and panicked. Their faces were pale, and they all knelt on the ground. Young Master Wei, please be happy or angry. Spare me, young Master Wei. All of you shut up. Wei Qingfan roared. Everyone was trembling in fear, not daring to move. Wei Han inwardly shook his head. Although his young master's talent was outstanding, he was temperamental. Following by his side, caution was essential. In the past, so long as Wei Qingfan wanted to deal with someone, all of them would suffer a fate worse than death. There really weren't many people in the imperial city that Wei Qingfan couldn't handle, but it just had to be Chu Hen that made it hard for him to swallow again and again. If this went on, Wei Han was really worried that one day, Chu Hen would be stuck in Wei Qingfan's throat. That bastard's speed of growth was so fast that it was simply terrifying. Everyone's storage tools had been taken away, and this also meant that Wei Qingfan had wasted more than 600 high-grade origin crystal stones for nothing. Damned bastard. I want to see how many rounds you can go. You better not encounter this young master, otherwise I'll definitely make you die a graveless death. Wei Qingfan angrily flicked his sleeve, and the cold light in his ruthless eyes revealed a hint of savagery. Tensei Prefecture. Little sister Zhou Lu. This Schweifing has successfully advanced to the first elimination round. I'm one step closer to the top 32. When the time comes, don't go back on your word, and don't go back on your word. Mu Feng proudly displayed the small red card in his hand, and his sneaky smile made even his eyes narrow into slits. Zhou Lu was so angry that her teeth itched, and she had the urge to throw the mat of her shoe at his face. Li Hui, who was at the side, drooped his head and sighed. Sigh, my strength is still not enough. All this hard work has all gone to waste. Calculating the time, Li Hui, Chu Hen, and this batch of newcomers in another month or two would be in the academy for almost a year. In this year, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others could be considered to be very diligent, especially under the guidance of teacher Shilon, and their speed of improvement was extremely fast. Currently, Li Hui and Zhou Lu had already reached the 7th and 8th level of the element opening realm. For newcomers who had only been in the academy for a year, this was definitely extremely outstanding. However, compared to the 2,000 geniuses who advanced in the first round of the Inter-Academy Martial Competition, it was still slightly lacking. Originally, there was nothing to be disappointed about. However, among his friends, Chu Hen, Mu Feng, and Lei Zhun had all advanced, and this more or less made Li Hui feel a little unbalanced. Little Li, don't be sad. There will still be opportunities in the future. Mu Feng patted him on the shoulder and said, I'm not sad. I'm just depressed. Depressed about what? Depressed. How could someone of your level advance? Damn your grandma's banana. You guys are all underestimating this Schweifing. If a tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm a little kitten? This Schweifing is usually more low-key. That's all. If this Schweifing was a little more diligent from the start, this Schweifing could also beat that so-called number 1 person in the Tensei Prefecture, Jixian. Continue boasting. Zhou Lu mocked disdainfully. Boast your sister-in-law, boast. Even if I can't beat him, that Jixian can't do anything to this Schweifing. I'll just laugh and quietly listen to you boasting. Your mouth that hasn't brushed its teeth for more than 10 years can really stink someone to death. Get lost if you dare to slander this Schweifeng's image again. Do you believe that you won't even know how you got pregnant? You're courting death. The few of them did not exchange more than a few words before they started fighting. Facing this pair of enemies, Chu Hen was both angry and amused. He shook his head and went back to his room, minding his own business. I'm going to rest. All of you, lower your voices. The few of them quickly stopped fooling around. The tragic incident in Competition Zone 224 during the day had already spread like wildfire in the Imperial City. When they found out that the person who won that competition zone was Chu Hen, all the students in the Tensei Prefecture looked at Chu Hen differently. Of course, Chu Hen did not take it to heart. After returning to his room, Chu Hen directly took out 32 storage treasures and threw them on the table. Inside were all the spoils of the day. Chu Hen scanned them with his divine sense one by one. Most of them were primordial crystal stones, cultivation methods, martial skills, weapons, and the like, including the more than 600 high-grade primordial crystal stones that Wei Qingfan gave to everyone in their own. The total number of high-grade primordial crystal stones was more than 1,000, among which there were countless middle-grade primordial crystal stones. The primordial crystal stones from last time haven't been used up yet. Young Master Wei, you've given me so many again. Thank you so much, young Master Wei, for giving me so many primordial crystal stones. Chu Hen muttered to himself and put them together. Then, Chu Hen flipped over and sat on the bed. Holding a high-grade primordial crystal stone in one hand, he released the spirit-gathering seal and quickly absorbed the majestic energy contained in it. The next morning, it's out. The rules of the second round of the Earth ranking battle are out. Really? When was it announced? Just now, there was a notice at the Seven Stars Plaza. Let's go and take a look. Countless people had already gathered at the Seven Stars Plaza. Although there were not many people in Tensei Prefecture who had successfully advanced to the next round, everyone's enthusiasm for the Earth ranking battle did not diminish at all. The second round is the battle for the top 32. F*CK, no way. It's the battle for the top 32 directly? Doesn't that mean that the 2,000 people who advance to the next round will be divided into 32 zones? Yes, 32 zones, and each zone will have 62 to 63 people. This kind of clamor arose one after another, and everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. They had heard that the rules of the second round would be much crueler and more difficult than the first round, but they did not expect it to be so difficult. In the first round, there were only about 30 people in each zone, but in the second round, there were more than 60 people. The number had almost doubled. This also meant that they had to defeat 60 people in order to make it to the top 32. How terrifying. Why are the rules so crazy this year? Who knows? Let's see where the competition will be held. The chaotic battleground in the city. Below is the name list of the students who advanced to the next zone. Xiaoyan, Arena number 4. Bai Yuyue, Arena number 7. Mu Feng, Arena number 21. Chuhen, arena number 31. There were 32 zones, and each zone had 62 or 63 people. The rules were very simple. Only one person from each zone could advance to the next round, and the only person who advanced to the next round would be the top 32. He would also have the qualification to enter the Sky List. There were not many people in Tensei Prefecture who advanced to the next round. Fortunately, no two people were assigned to the same zone twice. The continuous crazy competitions had long ignited the enthusiasm of all the people in the martial houses. Late at night, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Principal Jiang of Tensei Prefecture was alone in a loft. There was a faint hint of hope in his slightly turbid old eyes. Tomorrow will be the battle for the top 32. The future of the Heavenly Star Martial House will depend on these young fellows. Chapter 184. The next day, the holy light of dawn sprinkled over the entire imperial city, and the once bustling city gradually became bustling. In the northern part of the imperial city, there was a famous place called the Melee Arena. The Melee Arena was also known as the Gladiator Arena. It was a place specially set up for the members of the imperial city's royal family, officials, and nobles to watch the battles. There were a total of 32 melee arenas built in the northern part of the imperial city. Each melee arena was like a majestic fortress. The walls were more than 50 meters tall, and there were entrances and exits in all directions. Among them, there were a few arenas that were newly constructed. They were probably built to cater to the top 32 competition zones of the Earthless tournament. That was why they had added a few similar arenas to the original ones. There was a distance of more than 10 meters between each melee arena. From the first competition zone to the 32nd competition zone, all of them were marked with large, eye-catching red words. In the morning, countless people had already gathered at the second competition zone of the Earthless tournament. Outside the melee arena, there was a sea of people. Countless people had come to watch the excitement. I didn't expect the top 32 competition to start right away. I thought there would be at least 3 rounds of competition. That's good too. More than 60 geniuses are fighting in a melee, fighting for a promotion spot. The scene will be as explosive as it can be. Who's that? Which competition zone is Wei Qing Fan in? Number 1. Seems like it. Haha, what a coincidence. Does this mean that Wei Qing Fan is going to win the Earth List? Don't forget Shin Yunxi from Lingxi and Yao Zhan from Imperial Martial. These people are all very powerful. There's also Long Xuanchuang from Hao Yue and Long Qingyang from Mammoth. They're not bad either. Let's go. It's rare for the melee arena to be open for free. Let's hurry up and grab a spot. I'm going to Wei Qing Fan's competition zone. I'm going to Shun Yunxi's. Compared to the strictness of the first round of elimination and promotion matches, the second round of the top 32 was an open tournament. After all, there were more than 60,000 participants in the first round. After eliminating more than 58,000 contestants, the remaining 2,000 advanced contestants were divided into 32 regions. It was very easy for the spectators in the imperial capital to watch the battle. At the same time, the genius disciples of the various martial houses also arrived one after another. I really didn't expect that the battle for the top 32 would be held here. Zhou Lu, Li Hui, and the others looked at the majestic, chaotic battlegrounds that were like castles, and they all had expressions of admiration on their faces. The sturdy city walls were like iron bastions, giving people the feeling of an impenetrable cage. This chaotic battleground had been established in the imperial city for several decades, and there had been countless killings and battles in this place. When everyone approached this place, they could faintly feel a merciless, cruel, and imposing aura. Sister Zhou Lu, come and watch my match later. Mu Feng moved his head closer and said with a grin. No. Zhou Lu refused without thinking. I want to go to Chu Hen's division. TCH, Chu Hen will definitely be eliminated. You go and watch me. I will definitely enter the top 32. When that time comes, don't forget our agreement, You? Zhou Lu was so angry that her face turned red. You slut, be careful of your bragging. If you can't enter the top 32, prepare to lick the soles of this lady's shoes. Zhou Lu, don't forget to step on some dog shit. Li Hui casually added. Good idea. You too. This time, it was Mu Feng's turn to grit his teeth. To think that you could think of this, you're really ruthless. Of course. Zhou Lu said proudly. You think I'm afraid of you? In any case, this marshal will definitely enter the top 32. Just wait and see. They were noisy the day before yesterday, and today. Chu Hen was completely helpless towards these people. All right, everyone, go to your own area. Xiao Yan, who was walking at the front, turned around and said to the crowd. This time, the area was in the Imperial City, so there was no need for Instructor Lan and the others to lead the team. Xiao Yan, who was more steady, led everyone to the competition. Of course, the instructors from the various martial houses would also watch the competition from their seats as spectators. Understood, Senior Brother Xiao Yan. Everyone replied. Xiao Yan's gaze swept across by Yu Yue and Chu Hen. Then he said to everyone, no matter what, although the honor of entering the top 32 is important, the most important thing is still your own life. Where there's life, there's hope. A true hero should know when to yield and when to stand tall. Let me congratulate all of you in advance for achieving your ideal results. Xiao Yan's words were especially heartwarming. Everyone nodded in admiration. Chu Hen's impression of Xiao Yan increased. Compared to Ji Xian's arrogance, Xiao Yan's personality was more approachable. Immediately, the Tensei Prefecture geniuses who had advanced to the next round went to find their own area. Junior Brother Chu Hen, do your best. Lu Yu, He Qing Yuan, and the others all looked at him encouragingly. Chu Hen smiled and nodded. I will. And Mu Feng, Lei Zhan, you guys too. Hee, it's no big deal, Mu Feng said shamelessly. The entrances for the spectators and the entrances for the contestants were separated. Therefore, many of the Heavenly Star Martial House's students that came to watch the match had to enter the arena from another direction. As for Chu Hen, Xiao Yan, Bai Yue, and the others, they had to enter from the contestant entrance. There was still a lot of time, so Chu Hen was not in a hurry. Hey, Chu Hen. At this moment, a gentle female voice suddenly sounded. Yu Qinyu. Chu Hen turned around and couldn't help but smile. Long time no see. Yeah, we haven't seen each other for almost half a year, Yu Qinyu replied with a smile. Yu Qinyu was one of the 6 pearls of the Imperial City. She was also a famous general of the Sacred Star Dynasty, the daughter of the great general of the West Sea. Previously, Chu Hen met her at the Mammoth Martial House, and she could be considered a good friend. The last time they met was at the Star Prodigy Tournament. I haven't seen you for half a year, and your cultivation has improved a lot. Huh? Sensing the subtle energy waves in Yu Qinyu's body, Chu Hen said with some surprise. It's okay. In the past half a year, my dad has been keeping me at home to cultivate, and I rarely go to the academy. He even said that I am his daughter, and I can't embarrass the great general. I'm so annoyed by him. I wanted to go to the Tensei Prefecture to play with you a few times, but my dad, that bastard, wouldn't let me go. Yu Qinyu pouted, and her pretty face was very cute. Bastard? Chu Hen was amused by Yu Qinyu's insult. This was the first time he heard someone insult his father like that. Of course, although Yu Qinyu scolded him, she did not have any resentment. Reality proved that Yu Qinyu's cultivation had improved rapidly in the past half a year, and she had even surpassed Chu Hen in terms of cultivation level. She had already broken through to the core transformation stage, and she had easily secured a place in the first elimination round. Third brother. Then, a cheerful voice came from another direction. Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and he turned to see Long Qingyang walking towards him with a smile on his face, and the icy beauty, Long Xuan, was behind him. Big brother, second sister, you're good. Ha! Long Qingyang punched Chu Hen's chest. Cough, cough. Chu Hen pretended to be in pain, and he held his chest. Big brother, be gentle. I'm vomiting blood from your punch. Stop pretending in front of me. Both Xuan, and I didn't expect you to advance to the first round. I was knocked off the stage in the first round of the All-Academy Martial Competition. Huh. Why haven't I heard you mention this before? Sigh. It's better not to talk about such an embarrassing thing. Long Qingyang waved his hand and looked at Yu Qinyu. This must be the beloved daughter of the West Sea General, Yu Yu, or Miss Yu. Hello. Yu Yu stretched out her slender, white hand politely. I'm Long Qingyang. Nice to meet you. You're welcome. Even though they were both disciples of the giant elephant martial house, Yu Yu had said that Long Qingyang had been staying at home for the past half a year. This was the first time she had met Long Qingyang. When Yu Yu saw Long Xuan, a look of shock appeared on her face. She had heard Chu Hen call them big brother and second sister, but she hadn't expected Chu Hen to have some sort of relationship with Long Xuan, one of the four beauties of the imperial capital. Looks like we've come at the wrong time, Long Qingyang said strangely, a meaningful smile on his face. Chu Hen was stunned at first, but he knew what Long Qingyang was referring to. He shook his head inwardly. This brother of his was getting more and more indecent. Big brother, second sister, which arena are you in? Chu Hen changed the topic. I'm in Arena 17, Long Qingyang replied. I am number 9, Long Xuan replied calmly. She raised her eyes and opened her red lips. What about you? What about Arena 31? Arena 31? Long Xuan frowned slightly, a trace of emotion appearing on her cold face. What's wrong? Chu Hen asked. Long Qingyang and Yu Yu looked at each other in confusion. Long Xuan shook her head and replied solemnly, Lu Xiao from our Bright Moon Academy is in that arena. Lu Xiao? Long Qingyang and Yu Yu frowned slightly when they heard this name. Lu Xiao is a ruthless person. Long Qingyang let out a deep breath and looked at Chu Hen seriously. Third brother, Lu Xiao is a Stage 2 core transformation stage cultivator and has a ruthless personality. You're no match for him. Just treat this battle as a trial and don't come into direct contact with Lu Xiao. Chapter 185. Lu Xiao is a ruthless man. His cultivation base has reached the second stage of the core transformation realm. You are no match for him. Just treat the battle for the top 32 as a trial. Don't come into direct contact with Lu Xiao. Long Qingyang said solemnly to Chu Hen. Is it Lu Xiao? Chu Hen's eyes slightly focused as he softly muttered. That's right. This guy's like a madman. He pestered me for half a month and guarded the entrance of the giant elephant martial house every day. I was so annoyed by him. Pestered you for half a month? Chu Hen was confused. Big brother, do you have a grudge against him? It's all your second sister's fault. Long Qingyang glanced at Long Xuan and said, that madman Lu Xiao didn't know about my relationship with your second sister at first and told me to stay away from her. At that time, I also had a bad temper, so I got into a fight with him because of a disagreement. Later on, that guy started to compete with me and came looking for trouble every day. So that's how it is. Chu Hen finally understood. He rubbed his nose and said with a smile, it seems like that person treats you as a love rival. Since he wants to chase after second sister, when we meet later, he should try to please me. Hee hee. Long Xuan rolled her eyes at Chu Hen. We are not joking with you. Let me tell you the truth. Third brother, Long Qingyang was annoyed and amused at the same time. That madman failed to get your second sister, and his love turned into hatred. Now that he sees me, he's even crazier than before. You'd better not let him know that you're related to Xian Shuang, or you'll get yourself into trouble again. F***CK, what's going on? What does his failure to woo second sister have to do with us? That's why we call him the ruthless madman. All right. Chu Hen shook his head helplessly. There were all kinds of weirdos in the imperial capital. But no matter what, Long Qingyang had repeatedly reminded Chu Hen, which meant that Lu Xiao was indeed a tough nut to crack. Chu Hen just smiled and didn't say anything. All right, the tournament is about to begin. We'll be leaving first, all right. Long Qingyang and Long Xuan headed to their respective arenas, leaving Chu Hen and Yu Yu behind. I didn't even know they were your family. But why don't you have the same surname? Yu Yu asked curiously. Chu Hen smiled, and a hint of gloom flashed across his eyes. Because I was picked up. Picked it up? Yes, General Long Bo picked them up on the battlefield. But they've always treated me like family, and I haven't been any worse off than anyone else these years. At this point, The image of Long Zhan's tall and sturdy back appeared in Chu Hen's mind. It had been almost a year since he left Burning Rain City, and he was thinking of returning home with Long Qingyang and Long Xuan after the tournament. But seeing Chu Hen involuntarily reveal that sincere emotion, Yu Chun Yu's red lips lightly pursed, and a faint ripple appeared in her clear eyes. "All right, it's almost time for the tournament to begin. Let's get ready for the tournament," Chu Hen said. "All right." Yu Chun Yu smiled and nodded. Then, the two of them split up and headed to their respective arenas. Arena number 31. The majestic walls were like city walls, and one could clearly feel the cruel aura of a chaotic battle. There was a pitch-black passageway in front of Chu Hen, and it was the entrance to the arena. A middle-aged man in charge of the arena was guarding the entrance. "Is it this arena? Hurry up! It's almost time for the tournament," the middle-aged man said loudly to Chu Hen. Chu Hen nodded his head, took out a small red card, and handed it over to him. The middle-aged man stretched his head over to take a look, and then took out a scroll with over 60 names on it. Number 224, what's your name?" the man asked. "Chu Hen." "That's right," the middle-aged man confirmed, and then drew a tick next to Chu Hen's name on the scroll. "All right, go in." Chu Hen did not say anything else, and stepped into the passageway. The dark passageway was about 30 meters long, and he could see a ball of light in front of him. He could vaguely hear the sounds of the crowd coming from up ahead. Chu Hen could not help but quicken his pace. Rumble. The moment Chu Hen walked out of the passageway, his eyes suddenly widened, and his contracted pupils reflected the bright and vast scene before him. All sorts of noisy noises filled the sky and covered the earth. In front of Chu Hen was a wide arena. The arena was over 300 meters wide, and there was a circular arena in the center. The arena was 2 meters tall, and its diameter was about 100 meters. It was a third of the entire arena's width. At this moment, there were about 50 to 60 people sitting in the arena. The moment Chu Hen walked in, many people cast cold and unfriendly gazes at him. There was no doubt that everyone in this arena was a competitor. There were rows of spectator seats set up around the arena. However, the spectator seats in this arena were not full. At a glance, there were still many empty seats. After all, there were no particularly famous genius students in this arena. For example, the arenas of Wei Qingfan, Shun Yunxi, and Yao Zhan were all especially lively. Even so, the atmosphere in the arena was still very excited. Senior brother Chu Hen is here. Chu Hen, over here, over here. Chu Hen, you can do it. In the southern spectator seats, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, He Qing Yuan, and Lu Yu were already waiting. After all, they were direct disciples of teacher Xilan. They were paying close attention to Chu Hen's match. However, because the arena was too noisy, their shouts were drowned out before they could spread out. Chu Hen slowly walked toward the center of the arena. A fierce and cruel aura floated in the air. This arena was a place for fighting and killing. Humans fought with humans, demonic beasts fought with demonic beasts, and humans fought with demonic beasts. The officials and nobles of the capital would often come to such a place to watch the merciless killings. Over the past few decades, every inch of the arena had been stained with blood. That formless and cruel aura seemed to be able to affect the minds of everyone in the arena. Woo! The loud and clear sound of a horn once again set off an even greater commotion in the arena. The 62 contestants in the arena couldn't help but reveal serious expressions. Following that, a middle-aged man in his 40s, who was in charge of this area, took the lead to ascend to the center of the arena. He raised both his arms and loudly announced, "Everyone, this is the 31st area of the All Academy Tournament's Earth Roll Tournament's top 32. Next, who will be the king of this area? We will wait and see who will enter the top 32 of the Earth Roll." Boom! The atmosphere in the arena soared. Everyone in the spectator seats stood up one after another. An earth-shattering round of applause swept out. In this kind of environment, all 62 contestants were moved. Even Chu Hen could feel that the blood in his body was flowing faster. The middle-aged man on the stage waved his hand and continued. "Before the match begins, I will briefly explain the rules of the tournament. Only one of the 62 contestants can win. During the match, you can use any method to compete with your opponent, but you cannot use items like the Fallen Spirit Talisman. Violators will be disqualified. I need to say this. In the arena, swords have no eyes. Death and injury are up to fate. The middle-aged man took a few steps back and pointed to the arena beneath his feet. The last person standing on this arena is one of the top 32 of this year's Earth Roll tournament. Following that, he waved his hand and shouted, "I hereby announce that the top 32 of the Earth Roll tournament will begin immediately." Chapter 186. I hereby announce that the battle for the top 32 of the Earth ranking will now begin. After the middle-aged man finished his impassioned speech, his figure moved, and he quickly retreated from the arena. Immediately after, another loud and clear horn sound reverberated in the sky above the chaotic battle arena. Woo! This loud horn sound was like an order to launch an attack on the battlefield. It instantly ignited the flames of war in the arena. Boom! The dozens of contestants all released their powerful auras as they charged towards the dueling ring in the center of the arena at the same time. Kill! The champion of this arena is mine. Don't even think about competing with me. Oomph. Dream on. Take a palm strike from me. Get the hell out of here. In an instant, a chaotic battle between more than 60 people broke out in an instant. Powerful quintessential chi rose and fell like stormy waves. Colorful lights bloomed wantonly like fireworks, setting off a chaotic aftermath of chi waves in the entire arena. Chu-Hen stood at the same spot and did not immediately rush toward the arena. Anyone who stood on the arena would definitely become the target of everyone. No matter how strong they would be instantly drowned by the attacks of so many people. At a glance, more than half of the contestants had reached the first stage of the core transformation realm. Some were at the half-step core transformation realm, and only a small number of people were at the 9th stage of the element opening realm. After all, in the first round of elimination, more than 60,000 people were distributed across 2,000 arenas among them. There was no lack of lucky contestants who encountered weaker opponents. In the end, they passed the first round with a cultivation of a 9th stage of the element opening realm and entered the second round. However, in the battle for the top 32, the contestants with a cultivation of the 9th stage of the element opening realm did not have any luck at all. However, what made them even more depressed was that the surrounding people took the initiative to attack the weaker contestants first. Everyone knew that persimmons were always picking on the weak ones. Let's start with the 9th stage of the element opening realm. You guys don't even have a cultivation of the core transformation realm. You guys are simply here to make up the numbers. Boom! All the contestants aimed their spears at the 9th level of the element opening realm. Various powerful shockwaves spread across the chaotic fighting field. Immediately, a few weaker contestants were blasted to the ground, unable to get up. The intense battle scene caused the spectators in the spectator seats to exclaim in satisfaction. In previous years, the All-Academy Martial Meet had used one-on-one district arena battles. This was the first time they had seen such a chaotic battle. This brand new competition mode gave everyone a fresh feeling. There's still a small shrimp here. A dark-skinned young man wearing the Thunder Martial House badge looked at Chu-Hen with a taunting gaze. Chu-Hen smiled indifferently and answered casually, "I'll stand here honestly, okay? Why are you standing there? Isn't it better to lie down?" Buzz. Before he finished speaking, the man from the Thunder Martial House charged toward Chu-Hen with a surging aura. His half-step core transformation realm true energy wrapped around his arm like vines. Without saying a word, he threw a taekwondo punch toward Chu-Hen's head. Fall to the ground. I'm afraid that this little bit of strength won't be enough to knock me down. Chu-Hen was not flustered at all. He stood exactly where he was, and when the opponent's fist force was less than half a meter away from him, Chu-Hen also quickly and violently punched out. The punch's aura was restrained and did not produce the slightest energy fluctuation. However, when the two fists collided, a resplendent golden light directly blossomed. The eyes of the man from the Thunder Martial House widened, and the smile on his face immediately froze. The surging force flowed through Chu Hen's fist and into his opponent's body. Bang! A heavy explosion followed. The man's right elbow was immediately dislocated and a section of his arm bone directly protruded out. It was a particularly ghastly sight. "Sorry, I'll have to ask you to lie down." "You." The man's shrunken pupils reflected Chu Hen's naughty smile. Before the former could put up any defense, Chu Hen raised his leg and kicked his opponent's chest. Bang! The man was directly sent flying, leaving a trail of over 10 meters on the ground before he was able to stop. A large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and he fainted without a sound. So, it's a hidden master. At this moment, another man in blue with the Spirit Rhino Marshal House badge on his shoulder pointed his spear at Chu Hen. "What? You also want to lie down?" Chu Hen lightly smiled. "Humph. That depends on whether you have the ability to do so." This time, the opponent's cultivation had reached the first level of the core transformation stage. The aura that erupted from him was more than 10 times stronger than the one that was kicked by Chu Hen. Piercingly cold gales rose in all directions, setting off waves of thunderous sounds in the air. Rumble! The blue-clothed man's palm strike was terrifying. One could see that his opponent's palm was actually filled with densely packed lightning arcs. That ferocious power was like a thunderclap that suppressed Chu Hen. It was the lightning battle body with extremely strong, offensive power. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed. He did not dare to be too careless. "I seal. Chu Hen secretly shouted, and overbearing, mysterious ice-cold energy was directly released from his body. The airflow within a radius of a dozen meters became incomparably cold and suddenly dropped to freezing point. Chu Hen clasped his hands together and intersected his fingers. He directly pushed his palm forward, and endless, mysterious ice-cold energy instantly transformed into a sharp ice sword. The ice sword was incomparably solid and emitted a powerful and sharp aura. Swoosh! In the next instant, the ice sword slashed horizontally, leaving behind a powerful wave of air in midair as it directly attacked the opponent. The blue-clothed man's expression slightly changed. Not to be outdone, he gathered an even more powerful lightning energy and collided with the ice sword. Bang! The moment the two powerful forces collided, the dazzling lightning, along with the densely packed ice crystal fragments, shattered and burst out. A circle of scattered air wantonly spread out. The bone-chilling ice Xian Qi filled the air, causing a significant impact on the blue-clothed man. Insignificant tricks. The blue-clothed man clenched his teeth. He did not pay much attention to the mysterious ice-cold energy that filled the air and continued to attack Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen once again formed a hand seal. The mysterious ice-cold energy that filled the sky rapidly formed countless fine ice cones. The densely packed ice cones fell from the sky like rain and completely enveloped the blue-clothed man. "Be careful. My hail rain can stab someone to death." Chu Hen smiled faintly. At the same time, a violent and uneasy energy fluctuation swiftly condensed in his palm. The black true origin energy gathered in Chu Hen's palm like a whale sucking in water. The overbearing energy might even cause the space to faintly tremble. The blue-clothed man was shocked in his heart. He did not expect that Chu Hen would actually have such a swift reaction speed. Don't think too highly of yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling lightning completely erupted from the blue-clothed man's body. The dense electric arcs swam all over his body, as if he was wearing a lightning armor. Lightning annihilation. Bam! Several tens of lightning pillars flew out from the blue-clothed man's body like lightning snakes, and they completely shattered the ice cones that were flying towards him into powder. The lightning was unstoppable, and it gave rise to a dense destructive force as it attacked Chu Hen. "Lie down." Chu Hen indifferently smiled. He did not have the slightest bit of fear in the face of the several tens of lightning pillars that were violently attacking him. A circle of golden-red illusory flame was released from his body, forming into circles of golden rings that enveloped his body. Following that, Chu Hen's figure moved, and he directly charged towards the numerous lightning pillars. Bang! Lightning flickered and sparks flew. The blue-clothed man's expression changed greatly. He saw that all his lightning pillars were actually repelled by the layer of golden-red illusory flame around Chu Hen's body. He could not even break through his opponent's defense. How is this possible? The blue-clothed man was extremely shocked and furious. His cultivation level was only at the first level of the core transformation stage, but he actually could not break through the defense of the 9th level of the element opening stage. Wuxiu. Chapter 187. Chi-Chi. Under the blue-clothed man's astonished gaze, Chu Hen relied on the strength of his fleshly body to pass through the dozens of resplendent lightning pillars without the slightest injury. Chu Hen's might was unstoppable. In an instant, he arrived in front of his opponent. A fierce and domineering palm force surged down, landing solidly on the blue-clothed man's chest. Bang! A strong wave of air rippled through the air. The dust on the ground rose into the air, and a thick layer of soil was shaved off. The surging force directly broke through his opponent's defense and rapidly surged into his body. In an instant, the blue-clothed man spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out with a blood-curdling scream. All sorts of panic and fear filled his opponent's face. He looked in disbelief at the carefree and relaxed, smiling Chu Hen. How is this possible? How could a mere rank 9 element opening stage Wuxiu's fleshly body be so strong? Waves of exclamations and cheers rose from the spectator stands. In the midst of the chaotic battle, the strong confronted each other, and one spectacular battle after another unfolded in the arena. Wow, senior brother Chu Hen is amazing. Seeing Chu Hen defeat 2 people in a row, Li Hui could not help but stand up from his seat. Even He Qingyuan and Lu Yu were astonished. The former said in a deep voice, "That guy just now was Lingxi Martial House's Qin Lei, right? That guy actually only managed to take 3 moves from Chu Hen. It's him." Lu Yu nodded, expressing her affirmation. Speaking of which, Lingxi Martial House's Qin Lei could be considered a genius with a bit of fame. When the few people saw Qin Lei take the initiative to look for trouble, they could not help but secretly break out in cold sweat for Chu Hen. But who would have thought that Chu Hen would defeat his opponents so easily? This result was really unexpected. The entire arena was filled with cheers. The spectators of the various martial houses were cheering for the participants of their respective academies. However, in the process of the participants being eliminated one by one, the situation on the arena was also constantly changing. Some of the participants with average strength actually began to form teams, using a joint attack method to deal with the participants with higher strength. "You guys are too despicable," a man at the first level of the core transformation realm shouted angrily as he was besieged by the 3 of them. There's nothing despicable about it. This is a battle tactic. F***CK off. There's only one champion in this division. How are you going to split it among the 3 of you? Hee, you don't have to worry about that. Everyone joined forces to besiege those with stronger cultivations. Their goal was very simple. They wanted to get rid of the opponents who were the most disadvantageous to them first. In the end, the rest of the people were about the same level of cultivation. At that time, if they won the championship of this division, their chances of entering the top 32 of the Earth ranking would obviously increase significantly. Needless to say, this strategy was quite feasible as a whole. After defeating 2 opponents, Chu Hen had been wandering around the back of the battle circle. For now, as long as no one came to find trouble with him, he would not attack them for the time being. Under such circumstances, it was better to act as the Oriole. "What's that?" Chu Hen was startled as a familiar figure entered his sight. Little Yao. There was still a hint of surprise in Chu Hen's eyes. In the battle circle in front of him, a beautiful girl about 15 or 16 years old was being besieged by two young men. The girl was none other than Yi Yao. Yi Yao actually passed the first elimination round of the all-school martial competition. Moreover, she was placed in the same division as him. Based on the situation in front of him, it seemed to be the case. Subsequently, what surprised Chu Hin even more was that the two people besieging Yi Yao had reached the half-step core transformation realm. This also meant that Yi Yao's cultivation was stronger than theirs. How could this be? Chu Hin frowned slightly. Wasn't Yi Yao's cultivation realm improving a little too fast? It was so fast that it was slightly abnormal. Under normal circumstances, when Yi Yao's strength improved, Chu Hin would naturally be happy for her. However, the reality seemed to be different. Bang! Before Chu Hin had time to think, Yi Yao had completely fallen into a disadvantageous position under the siege of the two men. After one of them used the force of his palm to push her back, he had a sinister smile on his face as he said, "Hee hee, little girl, don't try to be brave anymore. It will be bad if I accidentally hurt you." Yi Yao's small face was tense, and her willowy eyebrows were slightly knitted. Facing the two men's continuous fierce attacks, although she was panicked, she was not afraid. "If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. What's the point of two people bullying me?" "Hee hee, who said two people bullying you? Little girl, I'm trying to help you." The other man had a wretched smile on his face. One of his hands turned into a claw, and he quickly blocked Yi Yao's waist. Yi Yao's pretty face changed slightly, and she quickly dodged to the right. However, the previous man's attack also followed. A fierce force swept out, and the man stretched out the index and middle fingers of his right hand. There was a spiritual light between his fingers, and he quickly pointed at Yi Yao's slightly perky chest. "Hee hee, little girl, you're too slow. I'm sorry." A sinister cold light appeared in the man's eyes. Yi Yao was so flustered that she could not even dodge. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a piercingly cold aura swept towards them. Just a second before the sinister-looking man's finger touched Yi Yao's body, a sharp flowing light blade swept across the sky like a meteor. Hiss! Blood splattered, and the smile on the man's face immediately turned into endless shock and anger. Two of his fingers were directly cut off. Ah! The howl of a pig being slaughtered suddenly echoed in the chaotic battlefield. The stunned Yi Yao did not understand what had happened, and a familiar fierce figure suddenly blocked in front of her. Two grown men bullying a little girl. They really lived like dogs. Buzz. Hua. Chu Hin's power rose, and a surging black light poured out from his body. The powerful pressure was like a mountain pressing down. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." The man who had two fingers cut off was shocked and angry at the same time. He glared at Chu Hin with scarlet eyes and attacked. Chu Hin hurriedly rushed forward, and with one hand clenched into a fist, he smashed it on the opponent's chest with lightning speed. A circle of scattered black light gently bloomed, and with a bang, the center of the man's chest directly caved in. The astonishing hidden force even shattered the clothes on his back. His sternum was shattered, and his 5 internal organs were ruptured. The man drew an arc in the air and fiercely fell to the ground. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. At the same time, the other wretched man's eyes emitted a fierce glint, and like a wolf, he pounced on Chu Hin. "Stinking brat, I wonder lowly life, idiot." Hua! Accompanied by a faint scornful and sarcastic remark, a rapid gust of wind rose in the air, and a long spear imprinted with black patterns appeared in Chu Hin's hand. Facing the menacing enemy, Chu Hin did not hesitate to send out the cold spear in his hand. Hiss! A spear shadow streaked across the air, and the fierce spear light was unstoppable, directly piercing through the opponent's chest. The wretched man's pupils shrank to the size of a needle, and his face was full of fear. Then he powerlessly tilted his head back and fell to the ground, no longer moving. Many people in the spectator seats were attracted by the scene that just happened, and all of them were astonished. What a domineering aura! Which school is that guy from? You don't even know him? He is Chu Hin from Tensei Prefecture. What? He is that Chu Hin? It is indeed as the rumors said. At such a young age, he is already extremely sharp and dashing. Looking at the man who had turned into two corpses in an instant, Yao suddenly came to her senses, and she raised her eyes to look at Chu Hen with surprise. Big brother Chu Hen, why are you here too? Because more than 60 contestants entered this competition area at any time, and because the chaotic battleground was vast and chaotic, Yao had not seen Chu Hen before this. And Chu Hen, who entered the arena last, naturally did not see Yao either. Chu Hen turned around to look at the other party, and there was a trace of solemnity between his brows. Chapter 188. I should be asking you that. Why are you here? After Chu Hen casually dealt with the two of them, he turned around and looked at Yi Yao. A trace of solemnity could be seen between his brows. Yi Yao's eyes were wide open and her mouth was slightly pouting. She looked confused and adorable. I'm here to compete for the top 32 on the Earth list. Even if I didn't expect Big Brother Chu Hen to be here, you'll definitely be the champion of this division. Looking at her innocent smile, Chu Hen could not help but feel a little funny. That was not what he asked. He said, Little Yao, step back a little. Yi Yao was startled. She looked a little puzzled, but she still took 2 steps back. Demon Pupil's sacred body. Chu Hen lightly shouted in his heart. Following that, a wave of peculiar energy fluctuation was released from his body. Even his eyes became somewhat warm. An obscure, bewitching purple light faintly surged in the depths of his pitch-black pupils. Buzz! In the next moment, Chu Hen's vision changed rapidly, and the world in front of him distorted and shook strangely. Then, the flow of the major meridians and true primordial qi in Yi Yao's body appeared directly in front of Chu Hen's eyes. He saw a huge but relatively scattered energy surging in her Dantian Sea of Qi. There was a golden core floating above her Dantian Sea of Qi. She actually broke through to the core transformation stage. Chu Hen was even more astonished. Wasn't this speed a little too frightening? Soon, Chu Hen found another problem. It was true that a golden core had formed in Yi Yao's Dantian, but the strength of the true primordial qi was too faint and weak. Its degree of density was even far from his. Seeing that Chu Hen's eyes were fixed on her lower abdomen, Yi Yao could not help but feel a little strange. In particular, there seemed to be some kind of strange light flashing in Chu Hen's eyes, which made Yi Yao a little uncomfortable. Big brother Chu Hen? Yi Yao called out softly. And Chu Hen, who was almost done observing, withdrew his attention and asked, Little Yao, have you broken through to the core transformation realm? Yes. Yi Yao answered honestly. How can he be so fast? Is it fast? Big sister has already reached the 2nd level of the core transformation realm. What? Chu Hen couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Although his relationship with Yi Yu had already reached the freezing point, based on his previous understanding of her, it was impossible for her to reach this level so quickly. Yi Yu's talent was indeed excellent, but she couldn't have such speed. Big brother Chu Hen, don't make wild guesses. In the past few months, Big sister has taken a lot of expensive pills, and she has also shared some with me. I see. Chu Hen raised his brows. This was the crux of the matter. With the help of pills, one's cultivation could indeed increase explosively in a short period of time. However, blindly using pills would cause the foundation to be unstable, and the true origin energy would dissipate. Those pills were given to you by Wei Qing Fan? Chu Hen asked in a deep voice. Big sister said no, but after thinking about it, there can't be anyone else other than him. Yi Yao lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong, because Yi Yu was not the only one who had taken those pills. She had also taken them. Moreover, the relationship between Chu Hen and Wei Qing Fan was obvious, so Yi Yao did not dare to look at him. Chu Hen let out a light sigh and shook his head helplessly. Little Yao, you can't rely on pills blindly anymore. That Wei Qing Fan does not have good intentions. Big brother Chu Hen, if you broke through to the core transformation stage under normal circumstances, then those 2 people from before would surely not be a match for you. But the reality of the situation is that you're at most slightly stronger than one of them. The density of your true origin energy is even inferior to someone at the 8th or 9th level of the origin formation stage. Could it be that Yu doesn't even understand the principle of biting off more than she can chew? Big Sister said that my foundation can be stabilized through recuperation. Oof, truly ignorant. At that time, she'll know exactly how wrong she is, Chu Hen sneered. He still had a few pills in his possession, and amongst them was a burst essence pill that he'd exchanged for with 15,000 star points. If he used the burst essence pill, Chu Hen would be able to break through to the core transformation stage. But he didn't do this because he didn't want to cause his foundation to become unstable from advancing his cultivation too quickly. There must be a buffer period during this period of time. Little Yao, I don't care what sort of mentality you have towards your big sister, but if you believe me, then don't consume the pills that way Qing Fan gave the two of you in the future. I believe Big Brother Chu Hen. Yi Yao nodded firmly. I'll persuade Big Sister when I return. Chu Hen smiled and rubbed her head in a gentle manner like an older brother. Bang! However, during the short period of time that Chu Hen and Yi Yao conversed, the situation in the arena had already undergone an extremely great change. A few tens of people had gathered on the arena at the center. On the arena that had a diameter of over 100 meters, it was a scene of chaotic battles, killing intent stacked upon one another, and various formidable martial skills launched frenziedly as they collided with each other, causing violent sand to suffuse the air and pounce towards the spectators in all directions. Ha! This high platform is fucking mine. All of you small fries, F***CK off. Arrogant and sharp laughter entered into the ears of everyone present. A man that held a halberd in his hand was actually not in a disadvantageous position while being besieged by over 20 people. His powerful aura exuded a sense of madness, and the halberd in his hand was covered in fine green scales with a pattern that resembled a flood dragon carved onto it. Lu Xiao, don't get too full of yourself. You can't beat so many of us by yourself. Lu Xiao, below the arena, Chu Hen was slightly taken aback. Was this the ruthless person that Long Qingyang had mentioned? He really did look crazy. Lu Xiao sneered as he looked at the people around him in disdain. You're all just a bunch of good-for-nothings. Do you really think that I, Lu Xiao, will take care of you? Shameless boasting. Let's attack together and get rid of him first before we fight for first place. All right, kill. In an instant, everyone on the arena attacked Lu Xiao from different directions. Their swords and blades were dazzling. A disdainful smile appeared on Lu Xiao's face as he slashed the halberd in his hand through the air. A green shadow that looked like a crescent moon pierced through the sky. Bang! The three people who were at the front were directly stabbed by the sharp halberd and fell to the ground. I already said that you're a good-for-nothing, but you still refuse to admit it. Lu Xiao stomped his foot so hard that the arena shook. He leaped into the air and charged at a man with a cultivation base of first stage core transformation realm like a tiger. The man's weapon was a bronze hammer, which was also a powerful offensive weapon, Wu Xiao. The bronze hammer had the upper hand against the heavy halberd. However, that was not the case when the two weapons clashed. Boom! The heavy halberd, which was engulfed in a thick green light, collided with the bronze hammer. The heavy explosion was like a clap of thunder that hurt the audience's eardrums. The hammer-wielding man's body trembled, and his palm split open. Even the heavy hammer flew out of his hand. With such little strength, you can't even kill an ant. Lu Xiao revealed a cold smile as he stepped forward. The heavy halberd whistled through the air like an aurora. Rings of vigorous green energy lingered around the halberd and formed a small whirlpool. The man's expression changed drastically as he retreated. However, Lu Xiao's attack was extremely fierce. With a sharp chi sound, the heavy halberd directly pierced through the man's chest. The blood-stained halberd came out of the man's back, and a huge bloody hole appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was a ghastly sight. Hiss! The audience in the arena sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the scene in front of them. Hatred, it was really ruthless. Even the people besieging Lu Xiao felt a chill run down their spines and a chill ran up their spines. Hee hee, did your legs turn to jelly? Lu Xiao laughed crazily. Everyone's expression changed again and again. They clenched their teeth and released their most powerful aura. They planned to give Lu Xiao a joint attack. However, Lu Xiao's reaction speed was extremely fast. He did not plan to give them the chance to attack. Lu Xiao pulled out the green scales, heavy halberd, and a majestic aura that was like a mountain soared into the sky. Waves of roars swept across the arena. Endless green light surged out from Lu Xiao's body. At the same time, the green scales' heavy halberd in his hand released a resplendent light. Something shocking happened. The green scales on the heavy halberd actually twisted and moved faintly. An extremely violent energy was released from the heavy halberd. Furious sea green scale dragon. Lu Xiao shouted. Bang! The tip of the cyan scale halberd landed heavily on the stage, causing dust to fly up and shattered rocks to fly everywhere. Dozens of deep cracks instantly spread on the surface of the stage. Roar! A deafening roar of a ferocious beast resounded through the arena. Along with the power of a wild gale, a dozen meters long green dragon shadow suddenly rushed out from Lu Xiao's heavy halberd. The terrifying aura of a ferocious beast shocked everyone present. The cyan flood dragon phantom was like a ferocious beast summoned by Lu Xiao. It swept its tail around Lu Xiao's body and attacked the people around him. The shocking power caused the air to flow in all directions. Even the space faintly trembled. Under the countless shocked gazes of the audience, the contestants gathered around Lu Xiao were all sent flying. They spat out blood and fell to the ground, unable to get up. Haha! Refreshing. This is really King refreshing. Lu Xiao stood proudly on the arena alone. He held the green scales heavy halberd in his hand and looked around at the audience. Who else dares to not obey me? Get the CK up. The expressions of everyone below the stage changed. Defeating so many opponents so easily was truly frightening. Chapter 189. Who else dares to not obey me? Get your ass up here. The ruthless Lu Xiao of the bright moon martial house had relied on his own strength to sweep through the entire arena. Under his powerful attacks, the majority of the people present had suffered considerable injuries. In particular, a few people had lost their lives to the cyan scale halberd. Lu Xiao's momentum had suppressed the entire arena. In an instant, the audience below the arena burst into an uproar. Lu Xiao will win. Lu Xiao is the strongest, the champion of this division. The entire audience was seething with excitement. Lu Xiao's valiant strength had truly conquered the hearts of the countless spectators, especially the people from the bright moon martial house, who were cheering even louder. There's no suspense. The champion of this division will definitely be Lu Xiao. In the audience, He Qingyuan shook his head with slight regret. It was undeniable that Chu Hen's combat strength had far exceeded everyone's expectations. However, there's almost no chance of victory against a powerful opponent like Lu Xiao. Sigh, senior brother Chu Hen's luck is a little bad. Li Hui also sighed. However, just at that moment, something unexpected happened. Chu Hen slowly took a step forward. Carrying the Demon Punisher spear on his back, he walked towards the battle stage in front of him. Lu Yu frowned slightly. She unconsciously exchanged glances with everyone else and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. He really can't help but want to give it a try. He Qingyuan muttered. Big brother Chu Hen? Yao softly called out with a worried expression on her pretty face. You're right here, Chu Hen calmly replied, and walked towards the arena without looking back. With every step he took, the aura emitted from Chu Hen's body grew stronger. An unconcealable sharp aura was quietly released from his body. The surrounding crowd was unconsciously attracted by Chu Hen, and the noisy audience also calmed down a little. Under the different gazes of everyone present, Chu Hen ascended onto the martial arena. Hey! Lu Xiao narrowed his eyes and sneered. He looked at the other party with disdain and said, 9th rank of the natal opening realm. Haha, are you tired of living or something? The crowd and the spectator stand sneered as well. Senior brother Lu Xiao. This guy is called Chu Hen. I heard he's the younger brother of Long Qingyang and Long Xuanshuang. A gloating voice came from one side of the audience. Oh, hearing this, the smile on Lu Xiao's face became even wider, his eyes revealing a teasing cold light. So it's that damned woman Long Xuanshuang's younger brother. Dead woman? Chu Hen frowned and replied coldly. Can you pay attention to your words? What? Do you have a problem with that? What was going on? In the audience, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others were all confused. The latter asked, Aren't Lu Xiao and Long Xuanshuang from the same academy? Do they have a grudge against each other? I've heard about it from others, Lu Yu answered. Lu Yu continued, I heard that Lu Xiao chased after Long Xuanshuang for half a year and was rejected numerous times. Then, Lu Xiao felt that it was embarrassing, so his love turned into hatred and he took it to heart. Lu Xiao even vented his anger on Long Qingyang a few times. I thought it was just a rumor, but I didn't know it was true. He's too narrow-minded. Is that necessary? He's even weirder than Mu Feng. Zhou Lu scolded in a low voice. There are all kinds of birds in a big forest. He Qingyuan replied, Although Lu Xiao's personality is a little weird, I can't deny that he's strong. I'm afraid that Chu Hen won't be able to take advantage of him. The crowd's attention returned to the arena. You scolded Long Xuanshuang in front of me. Do you think I have a problem with that? Chu Hen replied calmly. Lu Xiao didn't seem to care. Long Xuanshuang doesn't know what's good for her. How am I not good enough for her? Do you want me to tell the truth? Speak. Honestly, you're not good enough for her at all. As soon as these words came out, everyone below the stage sighed. Chu Hen was clearly angering the other party. Even if he was speaking the truth, he shouldn't say it out loud. Boom! As expected, Lu Xiao was instantly enraged. Without saying anything else, he raised a heavy green scales halberd in his hand and attacked Chu Hen. Today, I will chop off your hands and feet. Let's see if you have the ability to. Chu Hen wasn't afraid in the slightest. The Demon Slayer's spear that was twined with an overbearing black glow moved forward to meet his opponent head-on. In an instant, Chu Hen transformed into a few tens of sharp spear images. The overlapping spear images dazzled the eyes, and it was difficult to distinguish which was real and which was fake. Every spear image contained a shocking and peerless might, and the waves of air trembled with an extremely rapid sound. Humph. You have a nerve to use a move of this level? Lu Xiao mocked ceaselessly. The green scale halberd in his hand emitted a brilliant azure splendor. With a wave of the halberd, an azure light that was over 10 meters wide shot out. It was like a raging wave that completely shattered the few tens of black spear images that were assaulting him. Bang! Balls of scattered true essence exploded in midair, and a powerful wave of air swept up sand and dust that danced in the air. Buzz! Buzz! The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and an even more surging true essence quickly gathered on the long spear. However, Lu Xiao's speed was clearly faster. He leaped up, and with both hands holding the end of the heavy halberd, he raised it high above his head and smashed it down on Chu Hen's head with the force of splitting a mountain. Hee, because of your relationship with Long Xuanshuang, I'll take good care of you today. Rumble. The might of the green scale halberd was peerlessly powerful, and the powerful aura was like a mountain that pressed down on Chu Hen. The halberd's body swallowed and spat out a dense azure glow, causing people to feel even more frightened. Facing such a fierce attack from his opponent, Chu Hen didn't take it head-on. He dodged to the side, and the heavy halberd that was suffused with an azure glow fell from his left side and landed heavily on the stage. Boom! The rubble that flew randomly was like a startled swarm of moths, and the overbearing impact of the energy caused the entire stage to shake. A deep ravine quickly extended forward and directly extended to the edge of the arena. Hiss! Seeing this scene, everyone in the audience sucked in a breath of cold air. Many people felt a chill run down their spines. Everyone thought that it was fortunate that Chu Hen dodged quickly, or else when Lu Xiao's halberd descended, it was likely that all the bones in his body would have been shattered. This was enough to show that Lu Xiao didn't plan on letting Chu Hen off so easily today. He's really courting death. With just this bit of strength, he still dares to provoke senior brother Lu Xiao. You don't say. Chu Hen does indeed have some ability. You didn't see it just now, but Qin Lei of the Spirit Rhino Martial House was easily defeated by Chu Hen. Can Qin Lei be compared to Lu Xiao? That's true. Before the crowd's discussion ended, Chu Hen took advantage of the moment when Lu Xiao's strength had just dissipated and quickly sent out the long spear in his hand. The tip of the spear, which was surrounded by a dense black glow, tore through the air and rapidly pierced towards his opponent's throat. Umph! Lu Xiao sneered. With a flip of his left hand, green light flourished. Along with a low and deep roar of a ferocious beast, a malevolent dragon head appeared in Lu Xiao's palm. Although it was only an illusion, the might of the ferocious beast was especially clear. Lu Xiao directly used his left hand to receive the demon-punishing spear. As he moved, the dragon head in his palm suddenly opened its mouth. At the instant when it came into contact with the spear, the dragon head closed and firmly bit the spearhead. Hum. The collision of power caused the space to faintly tremble slightly. Green and black light intertwined, causing ripples to form between the two. With just this bit of strength, how is it any different from a 3-year-old child? Aren't you just throwing your life away? The dragon head condensed in Lu Xiao's palm caused Chu Hen's demon-punishing spear to be unable to budge. At the same time, his other hand slowly raised the heavy green scales halberd. From his point of view, the current Chu Hen was like a powerless child that could easily restrict his opponent's movements. It's too early to be happy. Be careful of dying too soon. Chapter 190. It's too early to be happy, or else you'll die too soon. Just as Lu Xiao was feeling pleased with himself, Chu Hen suddenly let go of the Demon Punisher's spear. Then his figure flashed, and he charged in front of his opponent at an extremely fast speed. He ferociously threw a punch at his opponent's chest. Lu Xiao was slightly startled. He didn't expect Chu Hen to use such a move. Since the distance was too close, Lu Xiao could only sweep the heavy green scales halberd in his right hand and the Demon Punisher spear in his left hand towards Chu Hen in the middle. This is called the legendary clamping stick penalty. Lu Xiao didn't put up any defense against Chu Hen's attack. From his point of view, a mere 9-stage element opening stage fellow's attack wouldn't hurt him at all. The heavy green scales halberd and Demon Punisher spear fiercely swung towards Chu Hen from the left and right. With Lu Xiao's powerful strength, if Chu Hen was hit, he would at least be heavily injured. Everyone in the audience secretly shook their heads with solemn expressions. Below the arena, Yao didn't even dare to take another look. She bit her lips, and her big eyes were filled with worry. However, this time, Chu Hen clearly had the advantage in terms of speed. With a huge hong sound, his right fist was the first to hit his opponent's chest. A resplendent golden light like the sun blossomed, and a terrifying impact was completely vented on his opponent's body. What? There wasn't a single person in the audience that did not have a change in expression. Following a forceful chi wave that rippled out from beneath the feet of the two, under numerous pairs of astonished gazes, Lu Xiao was blasted back by Chu Hen's attack. Lu Xiao's eyes widened and his body trembled. The blood in his body rapidly surged. As his opponent was pushed back, Chu Hen stretched out his right hand and tightly gripped the body of the Demon Punisher spear with a ring of golden-red illusory flames. Then he flipped over and leaped up, heavily kicking Lu Xiao's throat between his collarbone. Boom! After suffering 2 heavy blows in a row, the true essence in Lu Xiao's body was immediately affected. The flood dragon's head condensed in his left hand exploded into a mass of scattered shockwaves. Chu Hen, who had snatched back the Demon Punisher spear, did not say anything else. The Black Frost spear once again followed the momentum and drew out a series of dazzling spear lights in the air as it hurriedly pointed at his opponent's chest. Get out of my way! Lu Xiao was furious, his eyes almost spitting fire. With a wave of the cyan-scaled halberd, green light revolved around it like a slithering spirit snake, and the intense energy fluctuations caused the space around it to tremble. The powerful halberd collided head-on with the long spear covered in black light. The moment the two collided, the sharp impact was like two torrents crashing together. Boom! Intense repercussions swept out in all directions, causing sand and stones to fly around the arena. The dust and sand that filled the sky seemed to have encountered a strong gust of wind as they scattered to the surroundings. The other contestants below the stage were all shaken to the point of retreating. Many of the spectators couldn't help but stand up from their seats. Each and every one of them had an astonished expression on their faces. No one would have thought that Chu Hin actually had such strength. He was able to fight in such a shocking manner in front of the tyrannical Lu Xiao. Bang! A series of violent explosions once again rang out on the arena. Chu Hin and Lu Xiao both retreated one after the other. The strong recoil caused the entire arena to become a scene of desolation and ravines to appear all over it. Hiss! Everyone in the audience gasped. The scene in front of them caused countless people to be even more surprised. Lu Xiao's expression was extremely gloomy, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, especially the black footprint below his neck. He seemed to be in an extremely sorry state. On the other hand, Chu Hin's aura was calm, and the long spear on his back did not seem to be injured in the slightest. If the spectators didn't see it with their own eyes, they would absolutely not believe that a 9th-level origin opening stage could have the ability to injure a 2nd-level core transformation stage expert. However, it happened right in front of their eyes, so they had no choice but to believe it. You think you're worthy of long shuang with this level of strength? Chu Hin sneered disdainfully. You're courting death. Lu Xiao's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Subsequently, a thick and violent aura spread out from his body. I was careless just now, stinking brat. Next, I'll take your lowly life. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, an endless green light soared into the sky, and the airflow on the entire arena became extremely chaotic. At this moment, Lu Xiao gave off the feeling that he was a ferocious demonic beast, and his entire body gave off a palpitating feeling. Senior brother Lu Xiao is going to use his ultimate move. That guy is definitely done for. It's not fun to anger senior brother Lu Xiao. Feeling Lu Xiao's aura continuously rising, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, He Qingyuan, and the others could not help but reveal serious expressions. This aura was too different from a 9th-level origin opening stage cultivator. Would Chu Hin be able to block this move? None of them had any confidence. Big brother Chu Hin. Yi Yao's small hands were tightly clasped together as she softly murmured, her eyes filled with worry. Buzz! In an instant, Lu Xiao's aura rose to an astonishing level. Roar! A loud and clear roar of a ferocious beast shook the entire arena. The surging green light quickly gathered together, and then transformed into a tens of meters long green scale dragon. The green scale dragon coiled around Lu Xiao like a giant python, and its endless violent aura caused people to tremble in fear. Seeing this scene, no one thought that Chu Hin still had a chance of winning. Lu Xiao's face was filled with a sinister smile. He die. Raging sea green scale dragon. Kill, roar. The huge green scale dragon's aura was like that of a mad dragon coming out of the sea. It flew down from above and directly pounced towards Chu Hin. The terrifying momentum was like a mountain pressing down on him. Buzz! However, at the moment Lu Xiao launched his attack, an equally astonishing and domineering true origin energy rose up like a flame. Waves of powerful air trembled and caused chaos in all directions. Strong winds wreaked havoc, and wild waves piled up. Roar! Immediately after, a terrifying dragon roar echoed. A domineering black dragon shadow directly soared into the sky from behind Chu Hin. This kind of raging might was not any weaker than Lu Xiao's, who was at the 2nd level of the core transformation realm. 9-soul dragon seal, destroy, roar, the black dragon shadow shook all directions. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. With a furious roar, it directly flew towards the green-scaled dragon in front of it. In an instant, The heaven and earth couldn't help but dim a little. The moment the two collided, an incomparably chaotic tide was set off in the chaotic arena. The black dragon and the green scale dragon were like two ferocious beasts that had unexpectedly met. Black and green lights violently and crazily clashed, causing sparks to fly in all directions. Bang! With a deafening bang, the black dragon shadow and the green scale dragon shadow directly exploded in the center of the arena. A mushroom cloud of alternating green and black energy soared into the sky and spread in all directions. Rings of vast and mighty power seemed to want to split the entire arena into two halves. Everyone in the arena widened their eyes and stood up from their seats, especially He Qingyuan, Lu Yu, Zhou Lu, Li Hui, and the others. Only at this moment did they truly understand why teacher Shilon would favor Chu Hen a little. Who wouldn't like such a genius? However, when he saw that Chu Hen had blocked his all-out attack, Lu Xiao's expression became even more unsightly. He clenched his teeth and sternly reprimanded, "Don't be too complacent. I will definitely kill you with this move." As soon as his voice fell, Lu Xiao directly threw the green-scaled heavy halberd in his hand. Swish! As it moved, the green-scaled heavy halberd twisted strangely, and the green scales on it emitted a dazzling light. In the blink of an eye, under everyone's shocked gazes, the green-scaled heavy halberd emitted a bright green light, and then it transformed into a seemingly real green scale dragon. This is a spiritual weapon? It can't be wrong. It's impossible for an ordinary weapon to transform into an alien form. At the same time that everyone in the arena was shocked, all of them revealed envious expressions. However, most of them were still worried about Chu Hen's impending fate. After he executed such a powerful attack earlier, he probably didn't have much true origin energy left in his body. How could he possibly block Lu Xiao's sure kill attack? Under Lu Xiao's control, the heavy halberd that had transformed into a green scale dragon pierced through the heavy waves of energy without any obstruction, and it slashed at Chu Hen with boundless destructive killing intent. Swoosh! However, in that moment of imminent peril, a fiery red glyph suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen. The glyph was sparkling and resplendent, as if it was made of glass. An extremely restless and powerful force surged from the rune. That's a rune? It's the fire rune of Holy Bell City. So this guy obtained the fire rune of Holy Bell City last time. Many of the people present had gone to the Holy Bell City tribe together last time, so they had some understanding of the rune. At that time, no one knew what kind of power Chu Hen had obtained from the illusionary spirit bell. However, it seemed that he had obtained the fire rune. The eyes of the people from Tensei Prefecture lit up. From what they knew, Chu Hen not only had the fire rune, but he also had the frost rune. As for the actual situation, only Chu Hen knew. Boom! As soon as the fire rune appeared, a scorching wave of air spread out in all directions. In an instant, the area where Chu Hen was suddenly set off in flames that soared into the sky. The surging flames were like volcanic magma, erupting. Then, amidst the raging mighty power, a giant flaming hand reached out from the curtain of fire and grabbed the green-scaled halberd firmly in its hand. It was a shocking scene, as if the god of fire had seized the green-scaled flood dragon. Boom! The shockingly terrifying power collided, once again setting off a shocking upheaval in the audience. Chapter 191. Boom! The green-scale halberd transformed into a green-scale flood dragon with an unstoppable momentum. Like an arrow released from a bow, it pierced through the chaotic energy field in front of it. The giant flaming hand, summoned by the raging fire curse, was even more domineering. It was as if the god of fire had extended his hand out of thin air and grabbed the green-scale flood dragon firmly in his palm. An even more violent shockwave once again shook the entire arena. Countless pairs of eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. The arena, which had a diameter of 100 meters, was forcibly split open from the middle. A pitch-black and deep ravine ran across both sides of the high platform. directly splitting the arena in half. What F***CK? Is this strength really only at the level of a level 2 essence transformation realm? Should you say that Chu Hen's strength is really at the element opening realm level 9? No one in the entire division number 31 could sit still. Even the person in charge of this division frowned as he stood below the stage. Those two fellows actually tore down the arena. The arena in front of Lu Xiao was engulfed in flames. The green-scale flood dragon had already been submerged in the raging flames, and Chu Hen had already disappeared without a trace. Damn stinking brat. Lu Xiao clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he shouted in a deep voice, "Humph, it's impossible for you to block this move of mine." Swish. At this moment, within the raging flames, an arrow that was 5 meters long and as thick as the mouth of a bull suddenly flew out. This was an arrow that was condensed from the power of fire. Its speed was fast and its attack was strong. It was like a fiery meteor that flew across the galaxy. Wherever it passed, the space would tremble uneasily. Oof. Lu Xiao's eyes narrowed as he fearlessly raised a surging green palm energy toward the flame arrow. You want to harm me with such a small trick? Bang! The powerful palm energy whistled like a green torrent, and the flame arrow that was flying toward it exploded into a sky full of fireballs of various sizes. However, the moment the flame arrow exploded, an even sharper and colder aura instantly invaded the hearts of everyone present. What? Lu Xiao's pupils suddenly shrunk to the size of a needle. His face turned deathly pale. He saw that inside the blazing arrow, there was a cold spear surrounded by a black light. Everyone's complexion changed again. Chu Hen had actually hidden his spear in the flames. This sudden change caught Lu Xiao off guard. Boom! The tip of the Demon Destroyer spear smashed against Lu Xiao's chest. The true yuan that covered Lu Xiao's body was instantly scattered, and the clothes on his chest were instantly torn to shreds. Scarlet blood spurted out from the torn flesh. The powerful spear radiance caused his opponent's chest to be badly mutilated. Together with Lu Xiao's miserable cry, he was sent flying out of the arena and crashed heavily off the arena, kicking up a cloud of dust. The Demon Punisher's spear descended, and the sharp spear tip sank into the crevice. Boom! In the next moment, the flames on Chu Hen's side of the arena rapidly subsided, and the slender young figure once again appeared in front of everyone. Everyone's eyelids twitched. They saw that Chu Hen's body was straight, and there were no obvious injuries. In his right hand, he tightly gripped the cyan scale halberd. Wow, he's actually fine. In an instant, the entire arena was in an uproar. Everyone present was shocked. This guy, He Qingyuan clenched his fists tightly, and his brows were filled with complicated emotions. He was happy that Chu Hen was safe and sound, but more than that, he felt an indescribable disappointment. Thinking back to the day when Chu Hen had first entered Tensei Prefecture, Chu Hen, as a new student, had no advantage over He Qingyuan at all. But in less than a year, the difference was like heaven and earth. His opponent's growth was simply amazing. Too amazing, senior brother Chu Hen. Li Hui was almost scared out of his wits. Even though Chu Hen's image had always been rather high and mighty in front of him, he had never imagined that Chu Hen would be able to defeat Lu Xiao of the Bright Moon Academy. Zhou Lu, Lu Yu, and the others were also shocked, speechless. Yao, who was closest to Chu Hen, stood below the arena. There was a faint ripple in her large, lively eyes. She had always admired Chu Hen back in Flaming Rain City. Yao really could not understand why her sister, Yiyu, would give up on Chu Hen. In Yao's heart, Wei Qingfan had nothing that could compare to Chu Hen except for his family background. Big brother Chu Hen, you can do it. One day, your cultivation will surpass Wei Qingfan. When that time comes, I will definitely change my mind. The naive and innocent Yi Yao still thought that Chu Hen and Yi Yu would reconcile one day. However, in reality, even if that day came, Chu Hen would probably not even look at Yi Yu. Ta. Chu Hen walked forward with steady steps. Everyone's heart couldn't help but tighten. He held the heavy green scales halberd in one hand and his demon punisher spear in the other. He then walked to the edge of the arena and looked down at Lu Xiao. Ha! Ruthless Lu Xiao. His indifferent tone was filled with frivolity and disdain. The look in Chu Hen's eyes was exactly the same as the way Lu Xiao had looked at Chu Hen in the beginning. Do you think you are worthy of long Xuan with this kind of standard? You. Shut up. Lu Xiao lay on the ground with one hand covering his bleeding chest. He glared angrily at Chu Hen, his eyes almost spitting fire. Let me ask you, what right do you have to say such words to me now? Since you insulted Long Xuan previously, I will accept this heavy halberd. Don't even think about it. Lu Xiao was burning with anger. He pointed at Chu Hen and shouted, "Return the heavy green scales halberd to me." At the same time, the audience in the arena was in an uproar. This was the first time someone had openly snatched someone else's weapon in an open competition. Anyone with a bit of insight could tell that the heavy green scales halberd was a spiritual weapon. The way Chu Hen snatched his opponent's weapon caused many people to have an opinion. F***CK. Who is that from Tensei Prefecture? Don't you have any shame? Don't you want to be a robber? A Bright Moon Academy audience member scolded angrily. Hurry up and return the heavy green scales halberd to Lu Xiao. This is the competition venue. It's fine if you win the competition, but this heavy green scales halberd has an owner. If you still want to lay your hands on it, it's simply outrageous. Could it be that Tensei Prefecture is full of these shameless people? Many people who supported Lu Xiao earlier started scolding, strongly criticizing Chu Hen's actions. Seeing so many people speaking up for him, Lu Xiao's face revealed a cold smile. I'm the owner of the heavy green scales halberd. Return it to me. However, just as the audience was scolding and Lu Xiao's voice fell, two rays of sharp light suddenly shot out from Chu Hen's eyes. He then waved his hand, and the demon punisher spear in his hand flew towards Lu Xiao with a cold, killing intent. The sharp spear light dragged a series of afterimages in the air. Lu Xiao's pupils violently shrank. In the next moment, a cold and sharp piercing pain spread from his neck to his entire body. Warm blood splattered and danced in the air. The demon punisher spear directly pierced through the opponent's throat, coming out from the back of his neck like a sharp arrow, and went straight into the ground. Fresh blood flowed down the wound. At this moment, the entire arena fell into an incomparably deathly silence. Everyone present had their eyes wide open. Their faces were pale, and a chill ran down their spines. Lu Xiao's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. His lips slightly moved, but he couldn't even say a single word. Following that, his pupils quickly became slack, and with a dense unwillingness and resentment, he stopped moving. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled into a cold smile. He looked at the people who had just scolded him the most fiercely and raised the heavy green scales halberd in his hand. Chapter 192. Now, this is an item without an owner. A cold voice came out of Chu Hen's mouth. His indifferent tone reverberated in the ears of the audience. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, causing their heads to buzz. Assassinating the ruthless Lu Xiao of the Bright Moon Academy with a single strike of his spear. The entire competition area suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Ruthless Lu Xiao? In front of Chu Hen, he was completely insignificant. The faces of the people who were the most ferocious just now were as pale as paper. They could only feel chills running down their spines. It was their foolish actions that caused Lu Xiao to lose his life. Before this, Chu Hen had no intention of killing Lu Xiao. It was enough for him to obtain victory in the competition and take the green scales heavy halberd as his spoils of war. However, it was precisely because of the unforgiving words of the crowd below that Chu Hen was forced to take things to the extreme. Everyone was trembling with fear. No one thought that when Chu Hen became ruthless, he would be this merciless. Looking at Lu Xiao, whose throat had been pierced by the demon punisher spear, those widened eyes were filled with unwillingness. It was as if they resented the audience for talking too much. On the arena, an awe-inspiring, domineering aura rose from Chu Hen's body. He raised the green scales heavy halberd in his hand high and shouted in a shocking manner, "Who else dares to fight me on the arena?" His imposing manner was especially domineering. At this moment, the youth on the arena, who did not have a tall and sturdy figure, gave people the feeling that he was like a mountain, extremely oppressive. Many of the contestants below the arena were trembling. Their faces were pale, and their brows were filled with fear. They originally thought that Lu Xiao was ruthless enough. They did not expect that there would be someone even more ruthless. They were really unlucky to be assigned to this competition area. But then again, how many people could rely on luck to pass the competition of the top 32? Seeing that no one responded, Chu Hen raised his hand and fiercely stabbed the green scales heavy halberd in his hand into the arena. He announced that the protagonist of this competition area was him. Chu Hen is the champion. The audience in the martial house of Tensei Prefecture was the first to burst into cheers. Li Hui, He Qingyuan, Zhou Lu, Lu Yu, and the others all applauded and cheered. Champion, Chu Hen. Following that, the atmosphere of the entire arena was stirred up, and all sorts of cheers resounded throughout the arena. Brother Chu Hen is the best. Yao was jumping up and down in the audience. She looked even happier than if she had made it into the top 32. When the person in charge of this competition area saw this situation, he did not delay any longer. He ascended the badly damaged arena, raised his arms high, and shouted loudly, "I hereby announce that the winner of the 31st Division is Chu Hen of Tensei Prefecture." Boom! The atmosphere became more and more joyous. The person in charge once again said to Chu Hen, "Congratulations, you've entered the top 32 of the Academy's Earth Ranking Tournament." At the same time, in the first division, Death Sun Wheel. Boom! An incomparably violent power bloomed on the entire arena like the sun, and more than a dozen contestants were directly sent flying out of the arena. The terrifying impact of the power swept in all directions, and spiderweb-like cracks covered the arena. The arena, which was already full, was filled with cheers. Thousands of people stood up and cheered, and the applause was earth-shattering. Wei Qing fan, Wei Qing fan, champion, champion. On the stage, Wei Qing fan raised his arms, enjoying the atmosphere that was ignited for him. A devilish smile appeared on his handsome face, and he looked extremely relaxed. I hereby announce that the winner of the first division is Wei Qing fan of Tifeng Province. Congratulations on making it into the top 32. The third division. A powerful sword aura suppressed the entire audience. A man with extremely strong swordsmanship faced more than 20 competitors who were besieging him with a sword. The astonishing sword aura enveloped the entire arena, and countless plum blossom petals danced in the sky. The gorgeous scene was dazzling, and it was too much for the eyes to take in. Floating flower world, shocking rainbow sword. Immediately after, an even more powerful sword aura erupted from the young man's body. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the plum blossoms that filled the sky flew in all directions. As they moved, all the plum blossoms transformed into streaks of sharp sword gleams. Endless sword gleams shot out like thousands of arrows, hitting the people in the arena with unstoppable force. Panic screams rang out one after another in the chaotic battleground. Contestants who were not weak were all knocked down by this powerful attack one after another. Some of them were even directly pierced through by the condensed sword aura, losing their lives in front of everyone. Shen Yunxi is mighty. Shen Yunxi will win. Congratulations to Shen Yunxi for making it into the top 32 in this division. In the following period of time, loud cheers and celebrations rose from one division after another. The entire 32 arenas were majestic, rising and falling, giving people the feeling that it was a volcanic mountain range that had been silent for many years, and it was continuously erupting. Chaotic noises swept through the world like a flood. I hereby announce that the winner of this competition zone is Imperial Martial Academy's Yao Zhan. Congratulations to Xiao Yan of Tensei Prefecture for advancing to the top 32. Congratulations to Long Xuan Xuan of Bright Moon Academy for becoming the champion of this division. The winner of this division is by Yu Yue from Tensei Prefecture. Congratulations to Imperial Martial Academy's Luo Mengchong for obtaining the 32nd place on the Earth list. The monstrous waves came one after another, igniting the fiery atmosphere in all the competition zones. Woo! When a melodious sound of the horn reverberated in everyone's ears, it announced that the top 32 contestants of the Earth ranking tournament had been determined. Rumble. Then a 10-meter-tall door opened in each competition area. It was as if a city gate that had been closed for a long time had been opened, giving off a majestic feeling. Contestants who have advanced to the next round, please leave through this door first. The person in charge of each competition zone said. Buzz! The whole city was in an uproar and chaos. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed as he looked at the giant door in front of him. His handsome face quietly surged with some emotion. Li Hui, Zhou Lu, He Qingyuan, and the others had already climbed down from the spectator seats. Senior brother Chu Hen, let's go. You're amazing, haha. In the history of the All Academy tournament, not many new students have made it to the top 32. Big brother Chu Hen, you're amazing. Yao also walked over with a sweet smile. Under the escort of the crowd, Chu Hen's face revealed some excitement as he walked towards the door in front of him. Very quickly, Chu Hen walked out of the door under the crowd's escort. What appeared in front of him was a wide field. The field was covered with a huge red carpet. Colorful flower petals fluttered in the sky. At the same time, countless people surged over from different directions, and in front of each group of people was a dazzling genius who seemed to have gathered a myriad of halos on him. Wei Qingfan, Shen Yunxi, Yao Zhan, Luo Mengchong. A majestic aura surged from all directions. The people from each of the 32 divisions surged out. The champions of each division stepped onto the red carpet. Then the top 32 geniuses all met together. The top 32 geniuses were separated by more than 20 meters, forming a circle. When Wei Qingfan and Chu Hen's eyes met, the air seemed to be filled with invisible cold, killing intent. When Shen Yunxi and Long Qingyang's eyes met, sparks flew. Sister. Yao waved happily at Yiyu, who was not far away. Yiyu faintly smiled. However, when she saw Chu Hen beside Yao, a trace of pride involuntarily surged from her eyes. In this year's All Academy Martial Arts Tournament, there were many surprises in the top 32 of the Earth rankings. 3 newcomers actually made it into the top 32. They were Heavenly Star Chu Hen, Di Feng Yiyu, and Giant Elephant Yu Qinyu. When Long Qingyang and Long Xuan Xuan saw Chu Hen at the front of the 31st Division, they couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. Where was Lu Xiao? Wasn't the champion of Zone 31 supposed to be Lu Xiao? In other words, Chu Hen had defeated Lu Xiao and obtained the promotion spot for this division. Where's Mu Feng? Where's that braggart? Didn't he say that he would make it into the top 32? Zhou Lu looked around, but was overjoyed to see that Mu Feng was nowhere to be seen. Haha, don't say any more, junior sister Zhou Lu. A Heavenly Star Martial House disciple smiled as he walked over and said, I was in Mu Feng's competition area. At the beginning, that fellow was quite fierce. He defeated more than a dozen opponents in a row, and he didn't even take a break. Where is he? Why didn't he make it into the top 32? It's because he was so fierce that he aroused public anger. All the contestants in the competition zone chased after him. Mu Feng was being chased around, and even his clothes were torn. In the end, he could not resist the crowd's attacks and gave up early on. The student could not hold back his laughter as he spoke. The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. In their minds, they could not help but imagine the scene of Mu Feng being chased around like a little fool. Serves him right. Zhou Lu smiled smugly. I won't let him lick the soles of my shoes when I get back. The top 32 had been decided. Soon after, the audience discovered that 3 people from the Heavenly Star Martial House had actually made it into the top 32. They were Xiao Yan, Bai Yuyue, and Chu Hen. The crowd was in an uproar once again. Damn, The Heavenly Star Marshall House actually managed to get 3 spots? How is that possible? That's true. Is the Heavenly Star Marshall House going to rise again? While all the spectators were shocked, a formless competition arose between the 32 monstrous geniuses. The piercingly cold and solemn auras formed an obscure confrontation of auras. Chapter 193. Following the conclusion of the Earth Proclamation's top 32 matches, the various high-level martial houses that had gathered in the Chaos Arena dispersed amidst the clamorous chatter. TSK, TSK, TSK. 3 people from Tensei Prefecture actually made it into the top 32. This means that among the 100 places on the Heaven leaderboard, Tensei Prefecture has taken 4. Is this the rhythm of rising again? Don't be so sure. You have to know that the rules of this year's competition are different from the past. There are still 68 top geniuses who haven't participated. Think about it. What if those 68 freaks all participated? Not to mention the top 32. How many people in Tensei Prefecture do you think can enter the top 64? Well said. In Tensei Prefecture, only Ji Xian and Xiao Yan are passable. The others are not. Even by Yue is just SOSO. No matter what, there are a total of 4 people from Tensei Prefecture who got into the Heaven leaderboard. It seems to be second only to the 5 academies. Let's wait for tomorrow's top 32 ranking battle. I'm really looking forward to it. What's there to look forward to? Wei Qing Fan will definitely be the champion. As for that Chu Hen, he better pray that he doesn't meet Wei Qing Fan in the first round. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. I think so too. Everyone dispersed and left one after another. When Yi Yao left with Yi Yu and the others, Chu Hen could clearly sense the chilling, killing intent in Wei Qing Fan's eyes and the arrogance that Yi Yu revealed. It was undeniable that Yi Yu, who had made it into the top 32, had enough confidence. In particular, the speed at which her cultivation improved was like the help of God. All these glorious halos seemed to be telling Chu Hen that her choice of Wei Qing Fan was extremely correct. However, Chu Hen directly ignored it. As for what Wei Qing Fan's goal was, it had nothing to do with Chu Hen. The only person he was worried about was Yi Yao. Hey, you're not bad. He actually made it into the top 32. Someone patted Chu Hen's shoulder lightly, but Qin Yu had already walked up to him. Chu Hen smiled. Same to you. It's not the same. You don't know what I've been through for the past 6 months. It's been hard on me too. Chu Hen rolled his eyes at the other party. Apparently, he was the only hard-working person in the world. The others were just idling around. Yu Qingyu smiled embarrassedly. I'm just kidding. Hey, senior brother Chu Hen. Li Hui nudged Chu Hen with his elbow. Was Luo Mengchong from Imperial Martial Academy looking at you just now? Oh, where? He has already left, Li Hui said, subconsciously glancing at Yu Qingyu beside him. Luo Mengchong? Yu Qingyu raised her eyebrows slightly, a look of surprise on her face as she said, You even hooked up with Luo Mengchong? Of course not. We're just friends. Yu Qingyu pursed her lips, but didn't say anything else. On the other side, Long Qingyang and Long Xuanshuang walked over. Third brother, what's going on? Didn't you meet Lu Xiao? Lu Xiao, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and He Qingyuan all had strange looks on their faces when they heard Long Qingyang's question. Chu Hen rubbed his nose, then replied, Big brother, I have something to give you. Xing, along with a heavy metallic sound, a mighty and extraordinary green scaled heavy halberd suddenly appeared in his hand. This is Lu Xiao's weapon. Long Qingyang and Long Xuanshuang looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Chu Hen then passed the green-scaled halberd to Long Qingyang. This spirit weapon is not bad. It can replace your weapon, Big Brother. Long Qingyang's weapon was a heavy halberd. Although the material was not bad, it wasn't at the level of a spirit weapon. If Long Qingyang used this halberd as his weapon, his fighting strength would increase significantly, and it would be of great help in the upcoming top 32 battles. Long Qingyang naturally understood where the benefits lay. He didn't stand on ceremony and took the cyan-scaled halberd from Chu Hen's hands. Space trembled as a formless aura stirred the air around them. Good halberd. Long Qingyang laughed heartily. In the past, every time I fought Lu Xiao, he relied on his weapon to gain the upper hand. But third brother, it's a little embarrassing to steal someone else's stuff like this. Don't worry. Before Long Qingyang could finish, Chu Hen continued. This halberd was already an ownerless item before it fell into your hands. No one will say anything if you take it. Ownerless item? Long Qingyang was stunned again. Long Xuanchuang could not help but blurt out, You killed Lu Xiao? As soon as he said that, even Yu Qingyu stared at him in disbelief. One must know that Lu Xiao had a tyrannical cultivation at the second level of the core transformation stage. Moreover, he had a spirit weapon like the green scale heavy halberd in his hand. He might even be able to fight against an ordinary third-level core transformation stage expert. If one were to say that Chu Hen killed Lu Xiao, perhaps not many people would believe it. However, Chu Hen's expression was calm, and He Qingyuan was standing behind him. Li Hui and the rest did not show any change in their expressions. That was enough to explain everything. Long Qingyang couldn't help but laugh, exclaim, and shake his head. What are you hiding from us, kid? Nothing much. I was just lucky. Chu Hen spread his arms and did not dwell on the matter. Shortly after, the few of them chatted for a while before parting ways. After all, the first round of the top 32 battles was tomorrow. They had just gone through an intense battle, so it was imperative that they return to their peak condition. Tensei Prefecture. The whole school was in high spirits. Even Song Qinglai, Shadowless, and the other mentors were celebrating Xiao Yan, Bai Yue, and Chu Hen, who had just returned to the school. Although the rules were different this year, in comparison, the difficulty of entering the top 32 was much lower. However, to the Heavenly Star Martial House, it was still a great honor. Not bad. Shilan walked in front of Chu Hen. Her gentle and beautiful eyes contained a bit of a smile. Chu Hen smiled as well. It's all thanks to your hard work over the past few months. I only helped you correct some small mistakes. You still have to rely on yourself. Shilan didn't tell Chu Hen that she had brought up the matter of Chu Hen being able to enter the top 32 during the high-level meeting. Looking at it now, he really didn't disappoint her. Not far away, the two mentors, Song Qinglai and Shadowless, nodded in approval. No matter how unexpected Chu Hen's performance was, as long as it was beneficial to the Heavenly Star Warrior, it was what they wanted to see. Within the crowd, there was a pair of cold and gloomy eyes that stared at Chu Hen and Shilan, who were currently conversing, with extreme displeasure. You've only just entered the top 32. There are still many difficulties to come. Chapter 194. Mu Feng, get your ass out here. The soles of your shoes are ready. Chu Hen and the rest returned to Tensei Prefecture. After a brief exchange with a few teachers, they returned to their residence to rest. Zhou Lu and Li Hui also followed them. The former was here to settle scores with Mu Feng, while Li Hui was purely here to watch the show. However, when the three of them entered the courtyard, they found that there was no one there. Not only was Mu Feng not there, even Lei Zhun was nowhere to be seen. This bastard is still hiding, Zhou Lu scolded. It would be strange if he didn't hide. Li Hui replied, In my opinion, Senior Mu Feng won't be appearing in the near future. It seems that his values aren't as low as we thought. At least he knows how to hide. He can hide once, but he can't hide forever. If I don't find him, my name isn't Zhou Lu. Lily, let's go. Go where? Of course we're going to find him. Doesn't he lead Lei Zhun to some 10,000 flower house every day? I'm sure he's hiding there. I'm not going. My dad said that I can't go to 10,000 flower house before I'm 20. What are you talking about? Let's go. With that, Zhou Lu dragged Li Hui and left in a hurry. Chu Hen shook his head helplessly, but he couldn't help but find it funny. For once, Mu Feng was normal. Based on his usual behavior, Chu Hen was really afraid that he would lick the soles of Zhou Lu's shoes. However, the ranking battle for the top 32 would begin tomorrow. Chu Hen didn't have time to care about them. Chu Hen didn't really care about his ranking. However, if he met Wei Qing Fan in the competition, Chu Hen wouldn't be willing to lower his head no matter what. Wei Qing Fan's cultivation base has probably reached the third stage of the core transformation stage. He even possesses a special and powerful skill like the Death Wheel. I definitely can't let my guard down when fighting him, Chu Hen mumbled to himself. Although he possessed the demonic pupil sacred body and the chaotic body, he was still far from being able to control their power. However, due to his own cultivation, he was still far from being able to control their power. Moreover, the battle between the top 32 would definitely be watched by everyone. If he recklessly used the two demonic blood boundary powers, it would be hard to guarantee that he wouldn't be noticed. Fortunately, he had already cultivated the Flaming Sun body tempering technique, which was a domineering body tempering technique. At least in terms of physical strength, he did not fear Wei Qingfan. Coupled with some other trump cards, even if he could not defeat the other party in the end, he would not lose too badly. If only I had more time, I could use the exploding yuan pill to break through to the core transformation stage. This would increase my chances of winning by quite a bit. Chu Hen shook his head. The competition was right around the corner, and if he wanted to refine and absorb the energy of the explosive yuan pill to charge into the core transformation stage, he would need at least 10 days to half a month's time. The ranking battle would begin tomorrow, and time would definitely not allow for this. I have an idea. Suddenly, Chu Hen's eyes lit up. With a flash, he entered his room and closed the door. Now that things have come to this, I can do my best to make good use of the power of the runes. Chu Hen sat upright on the bed, deep in thought. Amongst the 6 talisman markings that he currently possessed, besides the spirit-gathering talisman that didn't possess any offensive ability, the other 5 talisman markings of blazing fire, frost, gale, water, and lightning all possessed extremely strong destructive ability. The power of the talisman markings was evolved and transformed by a spirit-level inscription master through a rune formation. The strongest destructive power of these 5 offensive talisman markings could reach the strength of a void-piercing stage powerhouse. Of course, there was a prerequisite. The true origin energy in Chu Hen's body must be able to support the maximum consumption of the talisman markings. With the current strength of Chu Hen's true origin energy, he naturally couldn't release the greatest destructive power of the talisman markings. However, under the condition of supporting the talisman markings with all his strength, the power of the talisman markings would be stronger than the attack power of Wuxiu, a level 2 core transformation stage. However, Wei Qingfan's cultivation base was at level 3 core transformation stage. Relying on the power of these talisman markings, it was still not enough to defeat the opponent. At this time, Chu Hen had a bold idea. If I combine the 2 different types of talisman markings, the destructive power will definitely be multiplied. If it was anyone else, they would definitely be caught off guard. Let's give it a try. Immediately, Chu Hen, who had made up his mind, began to take action. Buzz. Immediately, a wave of Reiki energy was quietly released from Chu Hen's Naiwan Palace. Wisps of golden Reiki energy spread along Chu Hen's arm like optical fibers and slowly gathered between his fingers. With a thought, Chu Hen carefully condensed a strange talisman markings. This was not a talisman markings. Instead, it was a talisman markings used to arrange a small spiritual formation. Naturally, Chu Hen would not be stupid enough to directly combine the 2 different types of talisman markings. If he did that, he would hurt himself before he could attack others. This was because the 2 different types of talisman markings would repel each other. In this state of rejection, if he could not control it, the person who would be in the most danger would be Chu Hen. Therefore, at this time, Chu Hen had to first arrange a small spiritual formation to coordinate. This small spiritual formation was called the Gentle Calming Formation. Not only was its name ordinary, it almost had no offensive ability. Its only function was to reduce the manic nature of a certain type of power, making it relatively more peaceful. Usually, this kind of formation was used to help Wuxiu calm the manic power in his body when he was breaking through, to prevent the newly derived true origin from being too violent and injuring his meridians. Of course, while the manic nature was reduced, it would not affect the strength and destructive power of the power itself. The current Chu Hen was different from the naive calf who knew nothing in the past. The vast knowledge contained in the illusionary spirit bell was completely imprinted in Chu Hen's mind. It was no exaggeration to say that in the entire capital, there were probably no more than 3 people who could surpass Chu Hen in the field of knowledge and understanding of the field of spiritual pattern masters. Chu Hen increasingly believed that the knowledge of spiritual pattern masters that he knew was what the first clan leader of St. Bell City, Lei Huan, knew back then. Of course, it was still the same sentence. With Chu Hen's standard as a beginner spiritual pattern master, he could only condense some beginner runes. Compared to ordinary beginner spiritual pattern masters, Chu Hen's biggest advantage was that he did not need anyone to teach him. He could slowly learn by himself. Soon, 15 runes were condensed between Chu Hen's fingers. Although they were only beginner runes, it was not easy for Chu Hen to control them. A steady stream of Reiki energy was released from the street tree in his Niwen palace, supporting the operation of these runes. Chu Hen was very careful with every step. When the 16th rune appeared, Chu Hen began to arrange it according to the distribution of the gentle calming formation. The arrangement of the runes could not tolerate a single mistake. If there was a mistake, it would be a small matter if the spiritual formation could not be completed. What he was most afraid of was not being able to control the power of the runes, and it would backfire on him. Chu Hen did it meticulously and steadily. 1. When the 16 runes were distributed in different positions under Chu Hen's control, the runes began to connect with each other, forming a gentle golden ray of light. The light was as soft as a spider's silk. It seemed as if it would break at the slightest touch. After all, in the past 5 months, Chu Hen often practiced his control of the runes. At this moment, although he could not be said to be proficient in arranging the gentle calming formation, he was quite skilled. Suddenly, a wave of obscure energy filled the room. The 16 runes disappeared like water droplets. Instead, a dazzling spiritual formation appeared in front of Chu Hen. This spiritual formation was about half a meter wide and was as beautiful as a plate. It floated in front of Chu Hen, emitting a gentle light. Success! Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. Of course, this was only the first step. Subsequently, Chu Hen raised his hands with his palms facing up. The true origin energy in his Dantian Sea of Qi was quickly mobilized and released. In the next moment, a crystal-clear, fiery red rune appeared in his right palm. The scorching airwave caused the room to emit a faint temperature. Subsequently, under Chu Hen's control, the fire rune turned into a beam of red light and surged toward the gentle calming formation. Under the influence of the gentle calming formation, the energy wave of the fire rune became much gentler. The red light flowed in the formation like a ball of fire sprites. Subsequently, with a thought from Chu Hen, an obscure wave was released from his left palm. Along with the chilly aura, a frost rune that looked like a snowflake and was as white as jade quietly formed. At this stage, Chu Hen became extremely careful and cautious. Under normal circumstances, the two extreme powers of fire and ice absolutely could not be fused together. But right now, Chu Hen wanted to break this principle. 1. Chu Hen carefully channeled the power of the frost rune into the spiritual formation. However, the moment the two powers came into contact, the situation immediately turned bad. The flame and frost were like 2 dragons and snakes fighting each other as they immediately repelled each other. The gentle calming formation also became extremely restless, and the 16 runes that were distributed in the air were also faintly discernible. The raging power was like a raging sea, setting off restless undercurrents. Oh no! Chu Hen's expression changed, and he hurriedly wanted to withdraw the 2 powers. However, at the same time, the gentle calming formation exploded with a rich light. With a loud bang, a shocking power instantly exploded in front of Chu Hen. The wild true origin energy was released wantonly. Chu Hen's pupils shrank, and he was caught off guard as he flew out and hit the wall behind him. Chapter 195. In the imperial capital, the entire city was looking forward to the ranking battle of the Earth list. All the geniuses of the various high-ranked martial houses that had entered the top 32 were nervously making their final preparation for the first round of the ranking tournament that would take place tomorrow. Tensei Prefecture. Bang! In the courtyard where Chu Hen lived, there was a series of violent and heavy shaking sounds. What's going on? What's happening? It seems to be at Junior Chu Hen's place. Due to the large movement, it quickly attracted the attention of the other students who lived nearby. Everyone wanted to go in and take a look, but when they saw that the walls of the courtyard were cracked, they abruptly stopped in their tracks. Should we call Mentor Shilan and the others? A student tried to ask the person next to him. I don't think so. If this goes on, this house will be demolished. It's okay. I remember a few months ago, Junior Chu Hen also demolished it once. At that time, it took Mu Feng a whole 7 days to fix it. But this time, I'm afraid it won't be fixed even after 17 days. Just as everyone was discussing, Chu Hen's room quietly quietened down. The hearts that were hanging in the throats of the surrounding people also calmed down. Finally, it was over. Then, everyone waved their hands and dispersed one after another. At this moment, Chu Hen's room was already a mess. The four walls were covered in cracks. Tables and cabinets were overturned, and even the tiles on the roof had fallen to the ground. Chu Hen was a mess, and his face was covered in dirt, as if he had just climbed out from a pile of rubble. However, his eyes were filled with an excited light, and his brows were filled with joy. In front of Chu Hen, there was a beautiful golden-colored small-scale formation. The two different forces of the fire cur seal and the frost cur seal chased and intertwined with each other like a lantern, forming a red and white circle. The alternating cold and hot air blended together and rose continuously. The power released by the two curses was especially shocking. It was as strong as the brewing magma in the Earth's core. When it erupted, it was really earth-shattering. I finally succeeded. Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief. He then dispersed the two runes and withdrew the Reiki energy. At this moment, Chu Hen felt that he was completely exhausted. His entire body was aching, and his bones were about to fall apart. Luckily, I have the Flaming Sun body tempering technique to protect me. Otherwise, I would have vomited blood. Chu Hen secretly rejoiced. When he looked at the house that was about to collapse, his eyes couldn't help but twitch. If Mu Feng came back, he would definitely lie on the ground and refuse to sleep. I hope he doesn't go crazy when the time comes. Immediately, Chu Hen stretched his arms slightly and moved his somewhat stiff limbs. After a simple recuperation, he began to practice the seal fusion technique over and over again. After all, his opponent would not give him any time to set up a spiritual array in the tournament's arena. When faced with Wu Xiao at the same level, Wu Xiao usually had no advantage in terms of speed. The only way was to continuously increase his hand speed and shorten the time needed to set up a spiritual array. Only then would he be able to increase his chances of winning against his opponent. Chu Hen didn't like to fall behind others, especially Wei Qingfan. A day passed in the blink of an eye. In the morning, in the eastern district of the imperial capital, a huge commotion broke out in an extremely vast arena. This was a plaza competition area that occupied a large area. In the center of the plaza, there was a majestic high platform. The platform was 3 meters tall and had a square shape. It was more than 200 meters in length and width. Compared to the arena for the top 32 competition, the area of the arena was 4 times larger. There were steps on all 4 sides of the arena. For brand new red carpets extended from the 4 directions of the arena. The other end of the carpet was directly connected to the surrounding audience seats. The audience seats were distributed in different levels. The height of the front row was about 3 meters, while the height of the back row was more than 50 meters. The dense crowd was like a surging tide. The chaotic clamor soared into the sky. The number of people in the entire arena was more than a few 100,000. The teams from the various high-ranked martial houses had already taken their seats. Imperial Martial Academy will win. Tifeng Province is mighty. Spirit Rhino Martial House is champion. The noise from the audience rose and fell, and the surging sound was deafening. Today, it wasn't just the instructors from the various martial houses that had come. Even the highest authority and the various deans were present. 31 high-ranked martial houses. 31 deans. Each and every one of them had powerful strength. At a glance, each and every one of them had a strong aura and was as steady as a mountain. The various deans sat in the most conspicuous positions in the audience seats of their respective academies. Only the 5 great academies, Imperial Martial, Imperial Wind, Spirit Rhino, Giant Elephant, and Bright Moon, were excluded. In the northern region of the central arena, right in front of the audience seats, there was a viewing platform that was dozens of meters wide. On the viewing platform, there were 5 wide seats arranged in a row. The deans of the 5 great academies, however, sat alone on those 5 wide seats. The treatment of the 5 great academies' deans was higher than that of the other deans in the annual inter-academy martial competition. There was nothing strange about this. Although the deans of the other martial houses were dissatisfied, they could only suppress it in their hearts. Chu-Hin, look, the one sitting in the middle is the Imperial Martial Academy's dean, Guandu. In the southern area of the audience seats, the Tensei Prefecture's team sat at the back. This was also the preferential treatment given to Heavenly Star Academy every year. However, compared to the past, this year's Tensei Prefecture's morale was much higher. It wasn't like the previous years when they were in a bad mood due to being neglected. Chu-Hin, Li Hui, Yi Qingyan, Zhou Lu, and a few others naturally sat together. During this period, Zhou Lu briefly introduced the deans of the various high-ranked martial houses to Chu-Hin. Although Chu-Hin wasn't very interested in this, he still listened attentively. After all, he had been in the imperial capital for almost a year, so he still had to learn a little bit of common sense. Imperial Marshal's dean, Guandu, looked to be in his 40s. He had a lean figure and eyes that were as sharp as an eagle's. He looked like a middle-aged man, but in reality, he was the same generation as Heavenly Star Academy's Dean Jiang. The two on the left are Imperial Wind Academy's Dean Yu Yin and Spiritual Rhino Academy's Dean Su Shi. The two on the right are Mammoth Academy's Dean Quang Wei and Bright Moon Academy's Dean Wei. Chu-Hin nodded, indicating that he was listening. Yu Yin looked to be about the same age as Heavenly Star Academy's Dean Jiang, but the former had a serious expression that gave people an indescribable sense of awe. Spiritual Rhino Academy's Dean Su Shi wore a gorgeous robe and exuded a trace of nobility. Mammoth Academy's Dean Quang Wei was the youngest of the 5. He was in his 40s and had a square face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a full beard. Just like his name, he was quite dignified. As for Bright Moon Academy's Dean Wei, she was the only female among the 5 deans. Her attire was simple and elegant, and she had quite a temperament. From her facial features, it was not hard to tell that she must have been a beauty when she was young. The 5 deans sat on a specially made viewing platform and exchanged simple words with each other. Behind them stood the martial house's core instructors, like Yu Shan, Li Gu, and some others whom Chu-Hin had seen before. In this kind of situation, the 5 deans were always at the top. As for the deans of the other academies, they were also happy and idle. They were either sitting in their seats, deep in thought, or chatting with their elders in low voices. Dean Jiang seemed to be in a particularly good mood today. When he was chatting with Song Qinglai, Shadowless, and the others, he had a smile on his face. Needless to say, it was because 3 students from Tensei Prefecture had made it into the top 32 of the Earth ranking. In fact, from the beginning, many deans have been paying attention to Dean Jiang, intentionally or unintentionally. However, most of them looked at Tensei Prefecture with contempt. Tensei Prefecture had been suppressed for 7 or 8 years. Now, it suddenly showed signs of a salted fish turning over. Not only did it not gain the recognition of others, but it also attracted a lot of disdain. Of course, to be honest, there were not many academies that hoped to see Tensei Prefecture doing well. The geniuses who had made it into the top 32 of the Earth ranking were also in their respective academies' teams. Among them, the most popular ones were Wei Qingfan, Shen Yunxi, Yao Zhan, and Luo Mingshang. Even though there were so many people present, these geniuses were still as bright as stars, and it was difficult to ignore them. It hasn't started yet, right? I made it. Lei Jun suddenly appeared in Tensei Prefecture's team. Why are you alone? Where's Mu Feng? Li Hui asked as he turned his body to let him sit. Beside them, there were 2 seats reserved for Lei Jun and Mu Feng. This, Lei Jun touched it, a little embarrassed, and then said to Chu Hen, Mu Feng said that he won't be coming for the time being. He said that he will only appear when you make it to the finals. Make it to the finals? Everyone was angry and amused at the same time. He really dared to think of such a thing. Where is he? Zhou Lu asked. Yesterday, she and Li Hui had searched the capital for an entire day, but they could not find Mu Feng. At this moment, she was still suppressing her anger and had nowhere to vent it. Lei Jun shook his head and said, he said that if I tell you where he is, he will cut off all ties with me. Miss Zhou Lu, please don't make things difficult for me. Tell that guy later that if he is still a man, he will fulfill his promise and come to lick the soles of my shoes as soon as possible. Boom! Suddenly, at this moment, the atmosphere in the arena soared to the heavens. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a middle-aged man ascended the special stand on the north side and walked to the area in front of the 5 deans. I am Lu Tong from the Qingyan Chamber of Commerce. Today, I am honored to be invited to be the judge of the ranking battle of the top 32 of the all-school martial arts competition. It is my honor, my honor. The crowd cheered in unison and the applause was thunderous. In the imperial city, there weren't many people who didn't know Lu Tong. Although he was not from any of the higher-ranked martial houses, he managed the foreign affairs and internal affairs of the Qingyan Chamber of Commerce, one of the largest chambers of commerce in the Sacred Star Dynasty. He was good at stirring up the emotions of others, so there was nothing wrong with inviting him to be the judge of the ranking battle of the top 32. At this moment, everyone understood what he meant. Chapter 196. I am Lu Tong from the Qingyan Trade Association. Today, I am honored to be invited to be the judge for the ranking battle of the top 32. I am truly honored, truly honored. When Lu Tong walked to the area in front of the 5 great deans, the entire audience cheered and applauded in unison. Everyone understood that the Earth ranking tournament that everyone had been looking forward to was about to begin. I can feel everyone's excitement. I'm just as excited as everyone here. Especially at this moment, all 31 deans of the imperial city's martial houses are here. This is truly a rare sight. Don't you think so? Yes. A chorus of responses gushed out like a tidal wave. It had to be said that Lu Tong was very good at stirring up people's emotions and atmosphere. The atmosphere in the already lively venue continued to rise, and the entire arena was faintly trembling. Lu Tong waved his hand with a bright and gentle smile on his face. His gaze then turned to the 5 deans behind him, and he said in a polite tone, before the start of the competition, does the respected deans of the 5 academies have anything to say to the next geniuses? Everyone's gaze swept towards the 5 people sitting on the wide chairs in unison. The dean of the Tifeng province, Yu Yan, laughed. I believe that not many people want to listen to useless words from us old fellows. Let the competition begin. It seems that the 5 deans are also looking forward to the upcoming fierce battle. All right, I won't say any more nonsense. First, I will announce the rules of the ranking battle of the top 32. Lu Tong raised both his arms slightly and moved towards the right side of the grandstand. He did this so that he would not affect the 5 deans' line of sight. The arena was located in the central area. If Lu Tong continued to stand in front of the 5 deans, he would more or less appear to be a noisy guest. The ranking battle of the top 32 will be carried out in a one-on-one arena. The winner will advance, and the loser will be eliminated. There will be a round of competition every day. Today, we will be carrying out the first round of the top 32 to the top 16. Young people, are you ready? Boom! The fiery atmosphere continued to rise like a tide. All the martial houses were cheering for the participants from their academies. Even Chu Hen couldn't help but be infected by this atmosphere, and his blood was boiling. We'll choose our opponents for the top 32 by random drawing. As soon as Lu Tong finished speaking, a dazzling white light blossomed in the stands. All of a sudden, a transparent piece of glass appeared in front of Lu Tong. That piece of glass was like a door, about 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. It stood erect beside Lu Tong. Hee, this clear water mirror shouldn't block the view of the audience at the back, right? Lu Tong smiled and looked at the audience at the back. The audience seats were still relatively high, so the audience's vision was not affected at all. To put it simply, this mirror has recorded the names of the top 32 contestants, as Lu Tong explained to everyone. He raised his hand and injected some true inner energy into the clear water mirror. Buzz, buzz. In the next instant, the clear water mirror emitted a gentle luster. Black stripes appeared on the transparent surface of the mirror. Under the surprised gazes of the audience, the black stripes turned into the names of the contestants at a speed visible to the naked eye. Wei Qingfan, Shun Yunxi, Luo Mengshang, Chu Hen. In the blink of an eye, 32 names appeared on the surface of the clear water mirror. Moreover, in front of each name, there was a prefix which was the name of the martial house they belonged to. For example, in front of the 3 words Wei Qingfan, there was the word Imperial Wind, and in front of Shun Yunxi, there was the word Lingxi, which was also Imperial Wind Wei Qingfan and Lingxi Shun Yunxi. However, the ones that made people's eyes light up were Xiao Yin, Bai Yue, and Chu Hen, who had the word Heavenly Star as their prefix. In recent years, Tensei Prefecture had been at the bottom, but now there were 3 people who had broken into the top 32. This was something that countless people were surprised about. All right, then let's see who the 2 geniuses will be in the first battle. As soon as Lu Tong's voice fell, the 32 names on the clear water mirror rapidly changed positions without any pattern. Everyone's eyes were glued to the mirror, and they all had looks of anticipation on their faces. Xiao. Immediately after, when all the names fell into a state of stillness, 2 of the names quickly gathered in the center of the mirror from 2 different directions. Everyone's eyelids twitched, and they saw that the 2 names that gathered in the center were Imperial Wind Wei Qingfan and Thunder Yudongshan. It seems that the first person to go up on stage is one of our king of popularity, Wei Qingfan. Lu Tong subconsciously took a few steps back, raised his right hand, and loudly announced, "The ranking battles of the top 32 begin. First battle, Wei Qingfan versus Yu Dongshan." Boom! Endless waves of energy soared into the sky, and all sorts of loud cheers rose in the Tifeng province. As for the Thunder Martial House, they secretly shook their heads and sighed. Their luck was really bad. Their first match was against Wei Qingfan, and it was obvious that they were going to stop here. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, Wei Qingfan stood up from his seat beside Yi Yu, and with a leap, he gracefully landed on the stage. On the Thunder Martial House's side, a young figure somersaulted in the air a few times and then steadily landed on the stage. "You Dongshan, you can do it. Wei Qingfan, you must win." Both sides supported each other, and they began a battle of voices. On the vast stage, Wei Qingfan and Yu Dongshan stood opposite each other. Yu Dongshan's face was full of caution. You're not going to give up?" Wei Qingfan looked at the young man in front of him with great interest, and a disdainful expression could be seen on his face. Asking someone to give up on the first match. This was simply insulting enough. Wei Qingfan, don't go too far. Yu Dongshan clenched her fists, and the dense, true origin energy of second-level core transformation stage rose like a flame. "Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. I just don't want to bully you. That's why I asked you to give up." Wei Qingfan's mouth curled into a casual smile. "I'm afraid that when I fight, you won't even have the chance to beg for mercy." Arrogance. Absolute arrogance. However, it was undeniable that Wei Qingfan had the qualifications to be arrogant. Yu Dongshan was quite angry, and her eyes darkened, revealing 2 fierce rays of light. Don't think too highly of yourself. Today, I want to see what kind of ability you, Wei Qingfan, have. Swoosh! Yu Dongshan's figure moved, and a powerful aura rushed towards Wei Qingfan. The airflow on the stage trembled unceasingly, and the surging pressure pressed down. However, Wei Qingfan's face was filled with disdain when he faced Yu Dongshan, who was charging at him ferociously. After that, An extremely violent fluctuation of energy erupted from his body, and an expanse of dazzling light that was like the sun shot out from the center of Wei Qingfan's right palm. The dazzling golden light condensed together in a spiral, and then a palm-sized golden wheel shockingly appeared before everyone's eyes. "It's the Death Sun Wheel." A cry of surprise came from the crowd. "Ha! You're quite capable if you can take one of my attacks," Wei Qingfan shouted, and with a move of his palm, the golden wheel instantly flew out. Rumble! The overlapping thunderstorm caused everyone's ears to hurt. As it moved, the golden Death Sun Wheel rapidly enlarged, and in the blink of an eye, its diameter was already more than 3 meters. The Death Sun Wheel, which was more than 3 meters in diameter, spun rapidly towards Yudongshan, and a neat straight line was split open on the stone bricks between them. Yudongshan's pupils constricted violently, and a strong sense of danger surged into her heart. Boom! Violent energy fluctuations exploded on the stage, and the Death Sun Wheel, that was like a scorching sun, struck Yudongshan. The terrifying destructive power was like a divine attack, and the defensive layer around Yudongshan's body was instantly shattered. The tyrannical power poured down like a mountain. Accompanied by a painful cry, the clothes in front of Yudongshan's chest were completely shredded by the golden wheel, and flesh and blood sprayed everywhere. With a loud bang, Yudongshan was directly sent flying from the stage under the shocked gazes of everyone present. She rolled a few times before smashing onto the ground, unconscious. Whoosh! In an instant, the entire audience let out a long sigh. As they looked at Yudongshan, whose chest was badly mutilated, and Wei Qingfan, who was standing on the stage without moving a single step, the fiery cheers resounded through the sky. Wei Qingfan mighty! Wei Qingfan champion! After easily winning the first match, Tifeng Province was completely in an uproar. In particular, Tifeng Province's dean, Yu Yin, had a faint smile on his face. At this moment, even Shun Yunxi, Xiao Yin, Yao Zhan, Long Qingyang, and the other participants couldn't help but slightly furrow their brows. Wei Qingfan's strength was enough to make everyone present take him seriously. Wei Qingfan turned around and walked towards the seats of the Emperor Wind Martial House. At the instant he turned around, a gaze filled with disdain directly passed through the 100-meter distance and landed on Chu Hen's body. It was full of provocation, but more than that, it was contempt. Others might not be able to tell, but Chu Hen was very clear that Wei Qingfan was obviously killing the chicken to scare the monkey. Without saying anything, he gave Chu Hen a show of strength. Chu Hen's gaze was full of coldness, and a cold intent surged between his brows. I really didn't expect this. The first match ended just like that. Of course, it's not an injustice for Yudongshan to lose to the king of popularity, Wei Qingfan. It's a glorious defeat. Lu Tong controlled the atmosphere of the audience, and the smile on his face was quite professional. Then, let's see who the two participants for the second match will be. Under the gaze of the audience, the participants' names on the clear water mirror once again spun rapidly. They are whoosh. The participants' names on the mirror became still, and one of the names moved towards the center. Di Feng Yiyu. Everyone raised their eyebrows. Everyone knew that Yiyu was Wei Qingfan's girlfriend. Was this a sign that Tifeng Province was going to win 2 matches in a row? Following that, another name also appeared. When everyone saw this name, they couldn't help but be stunned. Heavenly Star, Chu Hen. Chapter 197. Di Feng Yiyu. Heavenly Star, Chu Hen. Everyone was stunned when they saw the 2 names appear in the center of the Qingshui mirror. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and Yi Yao were especially stunned. Heaven was making a fool out of them. There were so many contestants, but these 2 had to be their opponents in the second round. Let's invite these 2 contestants onto the stage. Lu Tong's loud voice came from the northern stands. The Tifeng Province side was naturally in high spirits, cheering loudly. The Tensei Prefecture side didn't dare show any weakness, and they all cheered for Chu Hen. However, Zhou Lu, Li Hui, and a few of Chu Hen's good friends had strange expressions on their faces. After all, it had been almost a year, and they more or less understood Chu Hen's expectations. The reason why Chu Hen and Wei Qingfan had formed all sorts of grudges was because of Yi Yu. Right now, these two people stood on the stage as opponents. What would Chu Hen's mood be? No one could guess, sister. On the Tifeng province side, Yao bit her red lips, her big eyes tearing up. Don't worry, I won't kill him, Yi Yu replied indifferently. Then, she got up and slowly walked out of the spectator stands. She stepped on a red carpet in front of her and stepped onto the battle stage. Saying that she wouldn't kill him was enough to show Yi Yu's confidence. Many people's eyes lit up the moment she stepped onto the stage with her aristocratic aura. Yi Yu will win. Take down Difeng and start a 2-game winning streak. Junior sister Yi Yu, we have faith in you. Because of Wei Qingfan, Yi Yu's popularity was especially high. Wei Qingfan, who had returned to the spectator seats, had a playful smile on his face. He sneered inwardly and said, Yi Yu's cultivation has already reached the 2nd level of the core transformation stage. It's as easy as flipping her hand for her to defeat someone at the 9th level of the element opening stage. Even if you have a lot of trump cards, it's still difficult for you to make up for the difference in cultivation level. Looks like you can still live for a few more days, but you're going to lose all your face, hee hee. Amidst the uproar of the audience, Chu Hen also walked from the seating area of the Heavenly Star Martial House to the arena. That handsome face of his was so calm that not even the slightest trace of emotion could be seen. Only Chu Hen himself knew whether he was happy or angry. The two of them stopped less than 50 meters away from each other, and the atmosphere on the field gradually calmed down. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and the rest looked at Chu Hen with an indescribable complex expression. Based on their understanding of Chu Hen, having reached this stage, the other party's emotions would definitely be very complicated. Did they know each other before? In the Imperial Martial Academy spectator seats, Luo Mengshang rested her chin on her hand and looked curiously at the two people on the arena. To be more precise, she was looking at the slender figure of the youth. You can't lose. If we meet in the future, you'll have to go easy on me. Yi Yu and Chu Hen looked at each other, but their eyes were exceptionally cold. Especially Yi Yu. Her face was full of pride. I didn't expect you to make it into the top 32 with your ability. Her indifferent tone was mixed with a hint of frivolity. Yi Yu's eyes were like those of a noble. Chu Hen let out an indifferent snort. To be honest, you're the one who surprised me. I'm afraid that someone has bribed the participants in your competition zone to go easy on you. Humph. Yi Yu frowned slightly. The current, you can only rely on your tongue. If you want to leave this arena unscathed, then give up. I don't want to hurt you for little Yao's sake. Her tone was full of arrogance. The crowd sighed softly. As expected of the woman that Wei Qingfan had taken a liking to, she was indeed arrogant. However, Chu Hen smiled. His smile grew wider, but his eyes grew colder. Well said, but... Chu Hen paused, and his words were ice-cold, piercing everyone's eardrums like needles. Miss Yi Yu, I'm afraid you don't have the right to say such words to me. If you have any ability, feel free to use it. Also, for little Yao's sake, I'll go easy on you with one hand. After saying that, Chu Hen directly put his left arm behind his back. Arrogant. Absolute arrogance. A wave of hissing sounded in the audience. A 9th-level element opening stage cultivator told a 2nd-level core transformation stage cultivator to go easy on him with one hand. This kind of provocation was really unprecedented in the history of the All-Academy martial competition. You asked for it. Yi Yu's face was instantly covered with frost. With a clang, a metal clang sounded, and a sword that was flickering with a dazzling silver light appeared in her right hand. Subsequently, a powerful aura was released from Yi Yu's body. A dense gray light leaked out from Yi Yu's body. The majestic gray light lingered around Yi Yu's body, forming a gorgeous halo. A cold wind rustled, sweeping across the stage. Under the countless shocked gazes of the audience, The tip of Yi Yu's feet actually left the ground and floated 2 meters in the air. Circles of gray light continuously twirled and danced in the air and converged on Yi Yu's back, forming the silhouette of a huge butterfly wing from afar. It looked like Yi Yu had grown a pair of gray butterfly wings. The wings flapped, and a chaotic wave of air swept across the entire arena. Countless people in the audience could feel the powerful pressure coming from Yi Yu's body. This pressure also surged towards Chu Hen, who was in front of him. Amazing! I didn't expect Junior's sister Yi Yu, who usually keeps a low profile, to actually have such shocking strength. As expected of the woman that senior brother Wei Qingfan likes. Ha! That arrogant and conceited fellow, Chu Hen, has shot himself in the foot. Exclamations of surprise and schadenfreude could be heard from the crowd. In the mammoth Marshall House's seats, Long Qingyang frowned and muttered, "This is the limit of the Yi family's lunar battle physique bloodline." At the same time, in the Bright Moon Academy's side, Long Xuanxuang's beautiful eyes narrowed. As someone who had also come from Flame City, she naturally knew about the Yi family situation. Moreover, the Yi family had a good relationship with the Long family of the general's residence. It was said that the Yi family had been glorious in the past and also possessed a powerful bloodline limit. The lunar battle physique, on the other hand, was an extremely powerful bloodline limit. Even amongst battle physiques of the same level, it was one of the more powerful ones. However, what truly surprised Long Xuanxuang was that there was no news of Yi Yu possessing the lunar battle physique in the past. This meant that Yi Yu had always been hiding the fact that she possessed the lunar battle physique. This woman was not simple at all. Long Xuanxuang shook her head helplessly once more. She had always felt that Yi Yu was an extraordinary woman, but now it seemed that she had underestimated her. Lunar battle physique. Chu Hen coldly spat out these 4 words as he looked at Yi Yu's imposing aura. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with pride and self-satisfaction. "It's too late for you to regret it now." Ha! A self-deprecating smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. Good, very good. Chu Hen had never imagined that there would be so many things that Yi Yu did not know. Back in Flame City, when their relationship was still relatively good, Chu Hen had asked her what the limit of her bloodline was. At that time, Yi Yu had replied that it was an ordinary martial body. From the looks of it now, Yi Yu had been deceiving Chu Hen back then. Seeing Chu Hen's increasingly icy expression, Yao, who was in the imperial-style spectator stands, couldn't help but feel a little guilty. She should have told Chu Hen about this earlier. If that was the case, perhaps he wouldn't have made a move against Yi Yu. The disdain in Yi Yu's eyes grew even more intense. She floated in the air and looked down at Chu Hen from above. "Are you worthy of fighting me with just one hand? You should pay the price for what you've just said." Boom! As the sound of her voice faded, Yi Yu brandished the sword in her hand. The airflow in the entire arena became abnormally cold. This kind of coldness was not the cold of frost, but a kind that penetrated the bones and poured into the meridians. The countless gray light beams around Yi Yu released an especially powerful destructive aura. Sword dance, vortex slash. Yi Yu let out a soft roar as 2 rays of cold light flashed in her eyes. Rumble. As the sword fell, the momentum rose. In an instant, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, countless gray light beams were like a group of pythons coming out of their caves, covering the sky and earth as they whizzed towards Chu Hen. In the process of moving, the countless gray light beams merged together in a rotating form. When they arrived in front of Chu Hen, they suddenly transformed into a gray vortex that swept in all directions. The vortex attacked powerfully. The incomparably violent power was like a tornado as it ruthlessly smashed into Chu Hen's body. Boom! In an instant, a terrifying momentum that was comparable to the eruption of a torrent exploded on the arena. Chu Hen stood there motionlessly. His expression was strangely calm. Then, in an instant, he was submerged by the raging gray whirlpool energy. Chu Hen. In the Tensei Prefecture area, the expressions of Zhou Lu, Li Hui, He Qingyuan, and the others all changed dramatically. Yao, Long Xuanxuang, Long Qingyang, and the others all frowned, their hands clenched into fists. It shouldn't be that easy to die. Yu Qinyu muttered softly from the giant elephant Marshall House's seating area. Rumble. The gray light vortex unceasingly tore and bombarded Chu Hen's position. The destructive aura filled the entire stage. The rocks that were recklessly flying were like a group of startled moths. Crisscrossing cracks spread across the stage. What the hell is this? He was killed in one move. He even went easy on him with one hand. This is simply a disgrace to his grandmother's house. There's no need to think about it. That guy is definitely dead. Even if he doesn't die, the extreme yin qi will corrode his meridians. He'll at least lose half his life. All sorts of disdainful sneers rose from the audience. Wei Qingfan leaned back in his seat, a smug look on his face. One had to know that it was all thanks to Wei Qingfan that Yi Yu was able to reach this level of cultivation in a short year. In other words, it was Wei Qingfan who had allowed his opponent to defeat Chu Hen in one move. After this incident, wouldn't Yi Yu be obedient to him? Yi Yu, who was suspended in midair, had a cold smile on her face. You asked for it, don't blame me. Boom. However, in just a few seconds, a violent shockwave exploded on the platform. Everyone's expression changed dramatically. They saw the raging gray vortex of energy forcibly burst open from the center, like ripples on the surface of water, spreading in all directions. In the center of the chaotic energy, a young man surrounded by golden-red, illusory flames stood unscathed. Even his left hand was still behind his back, in the same position as before. What? How is this possible? Everyone's eyes widened when they saw that Chu Hen was completely unscathed. Before everyone could recover from their shock, Chu Hen left his original position with a swoosh like an arrow leaving the bow. He was like a ghost and rushed toward Yi Yu at an extremely fast speed. Yi Yu's face was filled with panic when she saw this sudden change. She immediately waved the long sword in her hand again without hesitation. However, at this moment, a pair of cold eyes were reflected in Yi Yu's pupils. Miss Yi Yu, you're too slow. The cold tone was like a sharp knife that cut through everyone's heart. Chu Hen leaped up and was 2 meters above the ground. He was as fast as lightning and quickly reached out with his right hand. Buzz, his right palm, which was wrapped in illusory flames, easily passed through Yi Yu's defense layer and directly reached her throat. Yi Yu's pupils shrank. In the next moment, she felt her neck tighten and a sense of suffocation hit her. Under everyone's extremely shocked gazes, Chu Hen's right hand instantly strangled his opponent's neck. Chapter 198. Miss Yi Yu, is that all you've got? Do you think you're worthy of showing off in front of me? Chu Hen. An ice-cold, furious roar rang out from the stage, causing the hearts of everyone present to fiercely tremble. Under the countless gazes that were filled with shock, Chu Hen's right palm, which was enveloped in illusory flames, easily pierced through Yi Yu's defensive layer and directly grabbed on her throat. The surging aura suppressed the entire arena. Yi Yu felt her throat tighten, and a suffocating feeling assaulted her. Chu Hen grabbed her by the throat and brought Yi Yu down from the air. Bang! The moment the two of them landed on the ground, the violent shockwaves caused the entire arena to shake. Chu Hen's terrifying aura swept out in all directions like a torrent. Dazzling golden red light encircled his body like a suit of holy light armor. Numerous cracks extended out from under their feet, and broken rocks of all sizes flew everywhere. The pair of huge gray butterfly wings on Yi Yu's back shattered and exploded, turning into a circle of scattered airwaves that swept out wantonly. The vast and mighty lunar chi spread out endlessly like ripples on the surface of water. All the spectators outside the arena could feel a strong sense of coldness. In an instant, the entire arena fell silent. Everyone present was stunned by the scene in front of them. Even the deans of the 5 great academies in the northern stands could not help but be moved. The situation in the arena had completely changed from before. Yi Yu, who had been proud and complacent earlier, was now off the ground, and her throat was being choked by a strong hand. Her face was pale, and her eyes were filled with panic. Brother Chu Hen, don't. Yi Yao was so frightened that she hurriedly stopped him. Wei Qingfan also stood up from his seat and shouted, "Let go of her!" Humph! A disdainful sneer appeared on Chu Hen's face, and he stared fearlessly at Wei Qingfan. "Who do you think you are? Or why do you have to bark here?" Every word was like a needle, transmitted into everyone's ears like a clap of thunder, causing their eardrums to feel a faint pain. "You!" Wei Qingfan's face was ashen. He clenched his fists so tightly that his veins were bulging. Chu Hen stared at Yi Yu and said coldly, "Eldest Miss Yi Yu, so what if you've broken through to the second level of the core transformation realm? I, Chu Hen, can still take your life in one move. For the sake of our past friendship, I'll give you one last piece of advice. It's not a good thing to take too many pills just like now." After saying that, Chu Hen loosened his grip and released the other party. Yi Yu, who was on the verge of suffocation, suddenly felt her entire body loosen up. She staggered and fell powerlessly onto the ground. "Big sister." Yi Yao hurriedly ran down from the spectator stands, walked up to the man, and helped him up. The appearance of this scene caused everyone present to shut their mouths. This was simply a complete humiliation. Just one hand, one move was more than enough. The disdain that Chu Hen had displayed from the beginning to the end caused Yi Yu to lose all face. Chu Hen, on the other hand, did not spare her another glance. He turned around and walked back to the spectators' seats. Why? In an instant, loud cheers erupted from the Tensei Prefecture's side. "Chu Hen mighty! Chu Hen mighty!" At the same time, thunderous applause erupted from Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, and Yu Qinyu's side. "Wow! Chu Hen, you're amazing!" Yu Qinyu shouted in a gentle voice. It had to be said that the battle just now had caused everyone to feel extremely surprised. The name Chu Hen had once again entered deep into the hearts of everyone present. The happiest person was none other than Principal Jiang, who was in charge of the Tensei Prefecture. This was the first time in recent years that the Tensei Prefecture had won a place in the top 16. Although it was only the Earth ranking, it was enough to make the higher-ups of the Tensei Prefecture excited and see the hope of the school's resurgence. "Good, haha!" Song Qinglai stood up and applauded Chu Hen. This was a student that he had personally brought into the Sky Star Academy. Towards the cheers and congratulations of the crowd, Chu Hen politely nodded slightly, which could be counted as a sign. He then returned to his seat. His chiseled and handsome face exuded a valiant aura that made people palpitate. What's there to be proud of? He only won one match. Over at the Lingxi Martial House's side, Xinwen was particularly disdainful. "It's like he didn't win at all." "Haha, junior sister Xinwen, this is where you're wrong. The Tensei Prefecture hasn't entered the top 16 in many years." Shang Zhe sneered. Xinwen covered her mouth and laughed. She then said to Shun Yunxi, "Big brother, if you meet that bastard, you must teach him a good lesson. I heard that he not only snatched Lu Xiao's green scales halberd yesterday in the chaotic fighting arena's 31st competition zone, but also killed him. He's simply too hateful. Last time in St. Bell City, he injured Shang Zhe. I'll make him pay for it with interest." At the mention of this matter, Shang Zhe's face immediately darkened. As for Lu Xiao, although he wasn't in the same school as them, he happened to know Xinwen, Shang Zhe, and Lin Hai. He also had a small friendship with Shun Yunxi. With the new and old grudges added together, it made them hate Chu Hen even more. Shun Yunxi's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed in the corners of his eyes. "Teacher Red Lotus, what do you think of him?" Luo Mengchong, who was at the Imperial Martial School, smiled faintly and asked the cold girl beside her with interest. Red Lotus's eyes narrowed as she said coldly, He's just lucky." "Hey, Teacher Red Lotus, you can't deliberately say bad things about him just because he's Shi Lan's direct disciple. You know that he's Shi Lan's disciple, so why are you still talking about him?" "Oh." Luo Mengchong pouted and stuck out her tongue mischievously. Then, she didn't say anything else. At this moment, with the help of Yi Yao, Yi returned to the Tifeng province area. "Are you all right?" Wei Qingfan went forward to ask about her situation and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, I'll definitely kill that bastard." "Shut up." Yi Yao glared at Wei Qingfan fiercely, then said to Yi Yu, Sister, ignore him. Wei Qingfan frowned and wanted to support the other side of Yiyu, but the latter subconsciously withdrew her hand. Then, without saying a word, she walked past Wei Qingfan and sat back in her seat. Even though it was only a small movement, it caused a ball of fury to arise in Wei Qingfan's heart. Of course, he wouldn't vent his anger on Yiyu. Instead, he clenched his fists and his murderous intent towards Chu Hen rose once again. The second round of the competition has ended. I think everyone here is feeling the same as me, unable to recover from the shock. The voice of the main judge, Lu Tong, reverberated, indicating that the third round was about to begin. Then, let's see which two geniuses will compete in the next round. Everyone's attention was drawn to the Qingshui mirror. On the surface of the mirror, black characters began to rotate rapidly. Then, two names gathered in the center. Imperial Marshal Yao Zhan, Mammoth Yu Qinyu. Let's invite these two contestants onto the stage. Lu Tong said in a clear voice. Wow, no way. Miss Yu Qinyu's luck is so bad. She actually met Yao Zhan? It's over. There's no hope. Amidst the hubbub of the audience, a graceful and beautiful figure walked down from the Mammoth Marshal House's seats. As soon as she stepped onto the stage, the entire audience erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Miss Qinyu will win. We all support you. Come on, I believe you can do it. Although there weren't many people present who believed that Yu Qinyu could defeat Yao Zhan, there were still many people who encouraged her. Shortly after, a man in black with a cold aura walked onto the stage from the Imperial Martial School's seats. His face, which couldn't be considered handsome, was especially pale, and his eyes were as cold as a snake's. Yao Zhan, a monstrous genius who was in no way inferior to Wei Qingfan and Shen Yunqi. This person's aura is so sinister. Chu Hen muttered to himself. The corners of his eyes narrowed, and he couldn't help but feel a little worried for Yu Qinyu. On the stage, the two looked at each other from a distance. Yu Qinyu frowned slightly. The aura exuded from her opponent made her feel very uncomfortable, but she didn't feel much fear. A white light flashed, and a sharp sword suddenly appeared in her hand. Let's begin. Do you think there's a need to fight? A low voice came from Yao Zhan's mouth, and a cold and strange smile appeared on his pale face. What do you mean? Even if you're the beloved daughter of the Western Sea's great general, I won't have any scruples. If you don't want to lose too badly, or lose too unsightly, then just give up. There was great confidence in his indifferent tone. The audience frowned slightly, and they couldn't help but secretly sweat for Yu Qinyu. Yu Qinyu gritted her teeth, and her pretty face was full of determination. Are you kidding me? If you have any ability, then use it. Even if I die here today, my father won't blame you for anything. Haha. Yao Zhan laughed wildly. Then he stopped, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Yao Zhan waved his hand, and an illusory white blade of air suddenly burst out. It dragged a powerful air wave in the air and directly slashed toward Yu Qinyu. The sound of the air being torn was extremely rapid and ear-piercing. A strong aura of danger quickly invaded. Yu Qinyu's pretty face changed slightly. She moved her wrist, and the long sword in her hand bloomed with a dazzling light and faced the blade of air head-on. Bang! The two collided. Accompanied by a violent explosion, a scattered energy shockwave suddenly exploded in front of Yu Qinyu. The powerful blade of air collapsed into a cloud of mist, and Yu Qinyu's jade-like hand trembled. Her arm went numb, and her sword almost flew out of her hand. No, the gap is too big. Miss Qinyu, watch out. The audience warned. Yu Qinyu's heart skipped a beat, and before she could steady herself, she saw that Yao Zhan had already flashed away and was rushing toward her. His cold eyes and strange smile made people feel especially uncomfortable. You can announce the end of the competition. It's too early for you to be happy, Yu Qinyu shouted in a cold voice. Then, a strange power quickly rose from her body. Strands of green light spread in all directions like specks of light. Boom! Chapter 199. Boom! Bang! More than a dozen vines as thick as a bowl suddenly broke through the ground of the arena. Along with the scattered rocks, they flew toward Yao Zhan at lightning speed. Gotcha! The extremely flexible vines directly intertwined and instantly sealed off Yao Zhan's path. Hee, interesting, Yao Zhan sneered. He consecutively waved two condensed energy blades to split the vines in front of him. Then, he continued to attack Yu Qinyu without slowing down. Yu Qinyu's beautiful eyes slightly narrowed, and a trace of solemnity appeared on her pretty face. Ancient tree, sublimate, bang. In an instant, the platform in front of Yu Qinyu crumbled once again. Along with an astonishingly powerful aura, a huge tree sprang out from the ground. This was a towering tree that several people could encircle. It was more than 20 meters tall, and its jade-green branches and leaves were especially luxuriant. The thick trunk gave off an unshakable feeling. Extremely exuberant life energy diffused from the surface of the platform. Bang! Bang! Immediately after, the two incoming energy blades directly bombarded the tree, and two deep marks immediately appeared on the trunk. However, they were far from being able to penetrate the trunk and injure Yu Qinyu, who was behind the tree. Good, beautiful Miss Qinyu. The people of the giant elephant martial house cheered loudly, while the people of the Imperial Martial Academy all had frivolous and playful expressions on their faces. Others might not know how strong Yao Zhan was, but the people of the Imperial Martial Academy were very clear about it. Yu Qinyu, who had just reached the core transformation stage not long ago, was not Yao Zhan's match at all. Even so, everyone had to admit that Yu Qinyu's ancient tree battle physique was very powerful. Buzz! Buzz! The towering tree that was more than 20 meters tall was like a sturdy shield in front of Yu Qinyu. The powerful aura and the rich life energy made everyone in the arena exclaim in admiration. On the special viewing platform in the north, the dean of the Imperial Martial Academy, Guan Du, who was sitting in the middle, nodded with appreciation. As expected of the daughter of the Western Sea Great General, you can use the ancient tree battle physique's power to such an extent at such a young age. I'm afraid it won't be difficult for you to surpass the Western Sea Great General in the future. What? Do you regret not poaching her to your Imperial Martial Academy? The dean of the Mammoth Martial House, Kuang Wei, said. Hee, Dean Kuang Wei, are you laughing at me? Who in the Imperial City doesn't know that the great general of the West Sea and you, Dean Kuang Wei, are as close as brothers? How can I poach him just like that? Guan Du's words carried an inexplicable deeper meaning. Kuang Wei merely smiled indifferently and did not say anything. The great general of the West Sea was from the Mammoth Martial House. When he was young, he had been friend with Kuang Wei. As for Yu Qinyu entering the Mammoth Martial House, it was also because he respected his father's orders. Hee, a mere tree wants to stop me? Too naive. Yao Zhan, who had already broken through the vines, grinned, revealing his white teeth. Then, without saying a word, he turned into a blur and rushed forward. In the process of moving, an extremely shocking aura continuously rose from his body and rose steadily. Buzz, a piercingly cold gale spread in all directions, and a thick red light quickly wrapped around his opponent's arm. The dazzling red light gathered in Yao Zhan's palm and enveloped him, immediately transforming into a red-sharp chopping knife. A surging power was released from his body. Yao Zhan leaped up and put his arms together. The red-sharp chopping knife rapidly expanded, causing the space to tremble. A red saber ray more than 10 meters long soared into the sky, appearing in front of everyone's eyes. See how I destroy this life-saving tree of yours, ha! Insolent laughter came from Yao Zhan's mouth. His arms swung downwards, and the red saber ray chopped towards the tree in front of him with the force of splitting a mountain. The shocking power shook the entire area. This saber ray was like a graceful swan. Boom! Under the astonished gazes of everyone present, the large tree was directly split in half from the crown to the trunk by the swift and fierce blade aura. Behind the tree, Yu Qinyu's pretty face changed slightly, and then she retreated. Hee hee, where do you think you're going? Miss Qinyu. Yao Zhan had a playful expression on his face, like a cat toying with a mouse. His figure moved, directly passing through the middle of the split tree, and was about to chase after Yu Qinyu. However, right at this moment, a slight arc actually appeared on the corners of Yu Qinyu's small and delicate mouth. Ancient tree, demon trapping. Swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, a rapid gust of wind suddenly flew towards Yao Zhan from behind. What? Yao Zhan was slightly startled, but before he could react, he saw countless thick vines flying out from the branches of the tree. Yao Zhan, who was caught off guard, was immediately entangled by the thick vines around his limbs, abdomen, throat, and chest. This sudden scene shocked everyone present. Many people subconsciously stood up from their seats. In the Tensei Prefecture spectator seats, Chu Hen also raised his eyebrows, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. This ancient tree battle physique is indeed unique. It can actually survive a single blow. Logically speaking, when Yao Zhan's blade split the tree in half, it should have already suppressed the power of Yu Qinyu's bloodline boundary. However, in this situation, Yu Qinyu could still borrow the power of the ancient tree. Apart from a uniqueness of her bloodline boundary, this also required extremely skilled control. Chu Hen nodded inwardly. Yu Qinyu had indeed made great progress over the past few months. In the capital, there was indeed no lack of geniuses. Of course, the most important reason was that Yu Qinyu's family background was far superior to ordinary people, and she could obtain cultivation resources that others could not. Swish, 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 the thick vines tightened, and in the blink of an eye, Yao Zhan was tied up like a big dumpling. Then, the thick vines rapidly contracted, directly locking Yao Zhan in the air 2 to 3 meters above the ground. The audience below the arena clapped and cheered, and the enthusiastic applause and cheers were like thunder, like a tsunami. So beautiful. Miss Qinyu will definitely win. Take her down in one move. Yu Qinyu slightly raised her eyebrows and said with a little pride, "Oomph, now you know how powerful I am." Then, without any delay, the tip of her foot touched the ground, and she leaped up like a spirit butterfly. The treasure sword in her hand quickly stabbed towards Yao Zhan, who was unable to move. No matter what, his opponent was still an expert at the 3rd level of the core transformation realm. Yu Qinyu did not dare to be too careless. Oomph. Facing Yu Qinyu's sure kill attack, Yao Zhan's fair face not only did not have the slightest trace of panic, but he also had a frivolous expression. You think you can defeat me just like that? How naive. Gulp. A sound of internal organs suddenly came from Yao Zhan's body, and then a terrifying scene that made everyone's scalp tingle appeared. They saw Yao Zhan's mouth suddenly open, and then a thick web of venomous snakes suddenly flew out of his mouth. The sinister venomous snake was like a real fierce beast, flicking its tongue and revealing its sharp venomous fangs. Yu Qinyu's pretty face instantly became as pale as a piece of paper. The scene in front of her directly caused her heart to palpitate and her stomach to turn. Bang! Yu Qinyu's sword slashed at the web of venomous snakes, and, at the same time, the venomous snake exploded into a ball of scattered true origin. At the same time, Yu Qinyu was repeatedly pushed back by the aftershock. It was fake. Not only did Yu Qinyu's psychological pressure lessen, but the audience also sincerely heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was fake. If he really spat out a venomous snake from his mouth, it would really be as horrifying as it could be. However, based on the scene just now, it was likely that not many people would dare to walk together with Yao Zhan from now on. It was simply too king scary. It was fine for those who had a strong psychological endurance, but for those who were timid, they would definitely be scared to tears. Although Yu Qinyu was considered brave, she was still a girl after all. Just the scene just now was enough to scare her to the point that she was at a loss of what to do. Following that, something even more frightening happened. Yao Zhan's body actually strangely twisted like a snake, and the parts below his neck actually contracted and twisted. His limbs rapidly withdrew from the vines, and he directly flashed out of the thick vines' encirclement. Hiss! The audience let out a long hissing sound. Is this guy a snake? It should be related to the bloodline limit of snakes. I have to stay away from him in the future. Yao Zhan successfully escaped from the ancient tree shackles. He twisted his neck in an extremely exaggerated manner and looked at Yu Qinyu in front of him with a sinister smile. It's my turn next. Just as Yao Zhan was about to launch an attack, Yu Qinyu hurriedly raised her left hand. I admit defeat. What? Everyone in the audience was startled. Giving up and admitting defeat? But it was not surprising. The difference in strength between the two was too great, and they were not on the same level at all. Moreover, Yu Qinyu had been frightened twice in a row and had long since lost any fighting spirit. Admit defeat? Yao Zhan's eyes turned cold. What? Can't I? Yu Qinyu curled her lips in dissatisfaction. I'm not going to fight a monster like you. After saying that, Yu Qinyu confidently walked towards the arena, returning to the giant elephant martial house area. The third match ended with Yu Qinyu's admission of defeat. After watching this match, many people could not remain calm. Countless people looked at Yao Zhan with an indescribable fear in their eyes. The only people who could maintain their calm were the deans of the various martial houses. Ahem! The dean of Tifeng province, Yu Yin, coughed twice. He looked at the imperial martial house's dean, Guan Du, from the corner of his eyes. This kid is from a snake demon clan, right? The snake demon clan? The other deans were stunned for a moment before they looked at Guan Du one after another. The latter leaned back on his wide chair with a faint smile on his face, but he only smiled without saying a word. Seeing this, several people cursed inwardly. The host judge, Lu Tong, continued to control the next match. Chapter 200. Under everyone's expectant gazes, the dozens of names on the clear water mirror once again stopped moving. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the two names in the center. Huangwu Tongfei, Heavenly Star, Xiao Yin. Let's welcome these two geniuses onto the stage. Lu Tong announced loudly. Whoosh! Then, the atmosphere suddenly became a little strange. It was not as joyous as before. It's my turn. Xiao Yin stood up from his seat with a relaxed smile on his face. Do your best, senior brother Xiao Yin. Senior brother will win. You will definitely make it to the top 16. The students of Tensei Prefecture cheered one after another. Song Qinglai, the direct instructor of the other side, was full of anticipation. Xiao Yin laughed heartily. Of course. I can't be weaker than junior brother, right? Xiao Yan's gaze looked towards Chu Hen, who was not far away. Chu Hen faintly nodded his head and returned a faint smile. Xiao Yin immediately stepped onto the stage. On the Imperial Martial Academy's side, a young figure also walked out. This was a man with an aura even colder than Yao Zhan's. His eyes were filled with a sinister coldness, and he did not conceal the killing intent leaking from his body at all. The most surprising thing was that the other sleeve was empty, and only a part of it was swaying lightly. But he had lost an arm. Tong Fei. Chu Hen suddenly froze and then reacted. He subconsciously blurted out, He's the fierce Tong Fei whose arm was cut off by senior brother Xiao Yin last year? Yes, Zhou Lu answered. Chu Hen remembered the first time he saw the Star Branch ranking at Nebula Pavilion. Zhou Lu and Li Hui had briefly introduced the top 3 of the Star Branch ranking to Chu Hen, Ji Xian, Xiao Yin, and Bai Yuyue. When introducing Xiao Yin, they mentioned that in the All-Academy Martial Competition last year, Xiao Yin fought against Huang Wu's fierce Tong Fei. Xiao Yin had cut off Tong Fei's arm despite being heavily injured. However, during the battle for the top 32, due to his injuries, he was defeated by Ling Xi's Plum Blossom Sword, Shun Yunqi. Chu Hen secretly shook his head. No wonder the atmosphere was a little strange. It turned out that this was a narrow road for enemies, a pair of enemies meeting face to face. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, Xiao Yin and Tong Fei faced each other in the middle of the arena, about 30 meters apart. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. However, this was only for Tong Fei. His eyes were gloomy as he glared at Xiao Yin. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Is that so? Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and replied playfully, I didn't ask you to wait for me. Oomph. Tong Fei's left hand lightly covered his right shoulder. His tone was as cold as a knife. This time, I will return all the humiliation to you 100-fold. Xiao Yan, today, I will definitely kill you on the stage. The crowd was secretly shocked. Everyone could sense the ferocious aura from Tong Fei. Over the past year, Tong Fei's hatred for Xiao Yan had deepened with each passing day. However, Xiao Yan's face did not show the slightest caution in the face of Tong Fei's determination. There was only a frivolous, playful smile. He gently raised his right hand and indifferently said, Come. Swish, as soon as his voice rang out, Tong Fei immediately turned into a blur as he charged at Xiao Yan. So fast, the crowd was inwardly startled. In the blink of an eye, Tong Fei had already arrived in front of Xiao Yan. His surging aura completely suppressed Xiao Yan as his remaining left hand turned into a sharp palm blade. With lightning speed, he slashed toward Xiao Yan's throat with a ruthless killing intent. Xiao Yan dodged to the side as the sharp palm blade streaked across the air like a ray of light, exceptionally bright and beautiful. What do you think you're dodging? Tong Fei angrily roared as he raised his right foot high and ruthlessly pressed down on Xiao Yan's head. The two consecutive attacks were almost seamless, and the speed was so fast that it inwardly startled everyone. Xiao Yan once again dodged backwards. With a loud bang, Tong Fei's kick landed heavily on the ground. The shockingly violent impact landed on the surface of the platform. The stone tiles within a radius of 12 meters were directly smashed into pieces, and deep cracks rapidly extended. Your strength has improved a little. Xiao Yan retreated several meters away and half-crouched. His hands stretched out in front of him as he assumed a battle formation. Humph! Put away that self-righteous expression of yours. Xiao Yan, if you don't make a move now, you won't have another chance. I seem to remember that you said the same thing last year. In the end, I accidentally beat you into a cripple. Shut up. Tong Fei was furious. Endless killing intent surged in his eyes, and a surging black light immediately erupted from his body. Solidified black shadows lingered outside his body, stirring up the airflow in all directions. Following that, Tong Fei directly sent out countless powerful palm shadows, and the densely packed palm prints smashed towards Xiao Yan like a mountain. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly as a fiery red light spread out from his body. Wrapped in a fiery red light, Xiao Yan's figure moved as he charged towards Tong Fei in a frontal assault. Buzz, an extremely powerful force gathered in Xiao Yan's palm as a sharp, fiery red spear appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The peerless spear followed the momentum and easily pierced through the layers of black palm shadows. Thunderous sounds continuously rang out on the stage as the fiery spear tore through the air, sweeping up a dense aura of destruction as it rapidly stabbed towards Tong Fei's throat. Beautiful. Cheers came from the Tensei Prefecture's spectator seats. Chu Hen also nodded inwardly. In fact, he could tell from the beginning that the reason Xiao Yan had given Tong Fei 2 moves was because he was accumulating strength. The fact that Xiao Yan was able to gather such a powerful attack in such a short period of time was truly astonishing. However, at this moment, a sinister smile suddenly appeared on Tong Fei's face. Without a word, he stretched out his left hand to grab the fiery red spear. Hiss! The sharp tip of the spear passed through Tong Fei's tightly clenched hand. The sound of the spear cutting through flesh pierced the eardrums of countless people present. Then, the spear stopped less than 5 centimeters away from Tong Fei's throat, and drops of scarlet blood flowed down Tong Fei's palm. What's going on? Everyone was a little stunned. It seemed that there was no need for Tong Fei to take the attack head-on. With his strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to dodge. The smile on Tong Fei's face grew wider, and his eerie white teeth sent a faint chill down everyone's spine. Following that, something that surprised everyone happened. Tong Fei's originally empty right sleeve suddenly expanded,